Of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stats Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
A very pleasant good afternoon to you, wherever you are, however you're listening. We welcome you into Sportstime. Brett Norsworthy alongside Bryant Dacus. Jay Morgan Harder taking the day off, so Bryant pulling like quadruple duty after his marathon day already at Flynn Broadcasting, and he is in our Family Leisure Studios. Wherever we are, we're always in our Family Leisure Studios, and that's where family and fun come together. The vacation and home sale going on now. Pools, lowest prices in town. Free liner upgrades with pool purchase during the sale. Spas up to $1,000 off in stock spas. Patio furniture, huge showroom of in-stock inventory. Buy today and enjoy tomorrow. Play gyms now on sale for $19.99. Special financing available. Mention this ad and receive half off installation. Family Leisure, 2120 Witten Road, just north of I-40. Billy and the crew, we thank you so much. Like I said, we're always in our Family Leisure Studios. Bryant Dacus, I don't want to start the show 2 days in a row whining and crying about the Cardinals. I'll just say they got ahead early, then fell behind 11-2, and now have scrapped back to be down 11-7.
A scrappy team they are, the St. Louis Cardinals. It's been an ugly season. I mean, we don't make any bones about it. We come in every day and we kind of let our fandom shine of what we think of this team this year. It hasn't been fun to watch by any means, but it's been an ugly game today, really, if you watch it from either side. An Angels fan, I guess it's not an ugly game if you're an Angels fan because they scored 10 runs in the first 3 innings, but I mean, I've seen multiple errors for the Angels, multiple errors for the Cardinals, and that's one issue I have with this team this year is, Brett, this is a St. Louis Cardinals team that you brought back a lot of guys from last year and really
had a good spring.
Had a great spring and really prided themselves on how many Gold Gloves, led the entire Major League Baseball in the amount of Gold Glove players they had in the field on a daily basis. And to see them come out this year and the amount of just careless errors that I have seen from this team to start the season is really troubling.
This is the kind of game today and the stretch they're in that could get a lot of people fired. It really could. I've done everything I can between last night's collapse and the loss last night and today, and this will drop the Cardinals to 10-22. Reached out to a great friend of mine, Cardinal loyalist through and through, and he said, "Never fair, Brett. 140 and 22s. How's this is going to end?" So he's taking the optimistic point of view. And last night and into today, I've tried of every way of who I could think to blame for this, and I think I'm going to blame it on Craig Unger. Do you think I should?
I think that's a great idea.
I would love to. No, what I can blame on Craig Unger is, unbelievably, the Redbird game today started late because of an infield issue, and it was supposed to start at 11:05 and only started when, about 2:30?
2 o'clock is when they tweeted saying that first pitch. I'm sure it was a couple minutes after 2 o'clock. You know how that goes. But 2 o'clock was supposed to be the official start time.
And the official issue in the release was what?
They said it was a dirt issue that their grounds crew, I guess last night, they water the infield every night, and their infield is a clay infield. And I guess too much water got into that clay. We know clay and water don't mix great together. Here's the official tweet. "During our overnight watering, the infield clay took on significant water, causing today's delay. We are continuing to work on these areas to provide a safe surface for the players. We are deeply sorry and apologize for the inconvenience." Now, Brett, my problem with all of this is that tweet was sent out at 12:44 in the afternoon. You said the game was supposed to start at 11:05. The tweet right prior to that was at 10 o'clock this morning stating their starting lineup. So from 11 o'clock to about 12:30, if you're a Memphis Redbirds fan and you weren't at the game, you had no idea what was going on and why the game wasn't being played unless you went over to the visiting team's Twitter page, because they, right at about 11:05, 11:15, tweeted out saying, "I can't believe I'm tweeting this, but we're in a dirt delay because the dirt isn't playable here in Memphis." It's an awful sight for Memphis. Something that Brett, me and you have experienced this. I remember when I was covering the team, this happened multiple times. The one season I was there, you go to plenty of games. I know you were talking about the same issues last year, and one thing that I was told from all sides going into this season is that how much time and effort and money they had put in to making this playing surface the best that we've seen in a while. And you even said that it looked beautiful that first game you went to. So I had a lot of hope and faith that this season we would not have these issues. But here we are. We're only in May, and we're already seeing an issue.
And just a disregard for the fan base here, for the other team to have to give you more information than the hometown team. So my issue on Tuesday night, I didn't say a word about it yesterday, did I?
You did not. I didn't even know you had an issue.
Did not say a word.
We were just talking about Mr. ABS.
What made it was so nice to meet Mr. ABS.
Always a pleasure.
I hope he enjoyed meeting me. But my issue Tuesday night, in the big scheme of things, especially compared to a 4-hour delay, a 3-hour delay today, it wasn't very much. But one thing historically about baseball, when you see the umpires pop out, that means 5 minutes until first pitch.
Showtime.
You can set the nuclear codes by it.
Right.
I mean, Air Force, Strategic Air Command can almost sync up with it. When the umpires pop out, you got 300 seconds and that first pitch is going to be flying off that mound. Well, the other night, umpires popped out, and we delayed. 5 minutes later, the game started because the grounds crew, which was made up of Redbird's employees, including Craig Unger,
right,
they were still watering and chalking and lining the field.
What?
Yes. It took that long to get the flipping field chalked. Then you had a perfectly beautiful day on all day Tuesday. And I know you don't do it until after batting practice and after grounders and stuff like that. But it's always done a lot more time out than from when the umpires pop out. And it's so many issues there with things. And honestly, frankly, Bryant, I don't know how many fans they're disaffecting. I don't know how many fans that they're putting out because it's just nobody at those games.
Yeah, it's sad to see because, like you said, there really isn't a big crowd there. I noticed, what was it, probably, I guess, yesterday's game, or no, 2 days ago's game, today's Thursday. There was seemed to be a lot of people there with Jordan Walker's first game, kind of sitting close. You couldn't see the outside. Anytime they kind of went a far shot, it was a little more disappointing, but right there, kind of that tight shot, it looked like there were some people there. But yeah, I mean, just, and like you said, I mean, stuff like this, it makes the fans that are coming, the few that are coming, not want to come as much because, like you said, if you wanted to go out there and spend a nice noonish afternoon day at the ballpark and you're sitting around thinking it's an 11 o'clock first pitch and now you're sitting around first pitches until 2 o'clock, I mean, that's just, that experience is awful.
Well, I can't come up with a reason to blame him for St. Louis, but I can blame him for that, and I can blame him for last year on the night that the University of Memphis was going to host Ole Miss, and it had been all-day sustained rain, but it broke about 4 o'clock, getting ready for a 6 o'clock first pitch, and finally they pulled the tarp, and because of a leak in the tarp, second base looked like a lake. And David Kellum tweeted out, we got a lake at second base, and that didn't go over with Craig and some others, and went in and talked really nasty to David over that when he was just showing facts. Mm-hmm. But that disgrace continues at AutoZone Park, and with this big government money that so many entities are waiting on in our area, including FedEx Forum, including Liberty. Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium, including AutoZone Park, and including the prospective new soccer-only stadium that will be at or near the Coliseum. And we've talked about good loans, bad loans, good bets, bad bets. Does that give anybody any faith that this is a good bet? And if it is, if it is approved and they get every penny you're supposed to get, and Peter Freund and Craig Unger spend it all perfectly on both the soccer only and on upgrades to AutoZone Park, does that mean any more people are going to go?
No, to me it doesn't. I mean, I think we've seen in the past. My problem is, and maybe it will change. This is just the first week. But when you have a top 5 prospect in all of baseball, the number 1 prospect in the Cardinals organization there, and you still don't have a ton of people showing up. I mean, there are other places where you get the top prospect in the system in town. He could be 30th in all of Major League Baseball or lower, and the place is packed for those games to see this guy because they're invested in that team, that organization from the top to the bottom, and you just don't see that here. Maybe it's because a lot of those other minor league teams are in smaller towns and cities that don't have a professional basketball team and other things that we have here in Memphis. But, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll find out how the Redbirds do. They're having a really good season on the field, but just nobody going. And I was told Saturday night the box score listed for Memphis 901 attendance said 36 and change, around 3,600. Mm-hmm. We'll round all the way up to 3,700. Sure. It wasn't a person Tuesday night at the Redbirds game told me it was closer to 336 people there than 3,600.
Yikes.
Now, it was very cold and very raw.
Yes, it was, but yeah, that's not what you want to see. But hopefully, like you said, with these upgrades, maybe the improvements come and more people go to the ballpark.
With all that, don't the Grizzlies have a great case to make for whatever the outlay is, whether it's over $600 million or whatever the number is? If it's $10 trillion, don't the Grizzlies have a great case to show? We're the great case to make. We're the only good bet. We're the only one that you should be spending. And I think Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium has a good to decent one. But over those other two, shouldn't the Grizzlies go anything for them we need? Because we're proving it. We're delivering.
I definitely think so, and it makes me sad because of how much I love baseball and how much we love baseball. But I think you're right.
I want soccer to do well.
Absolutely. I want everybody to do well. But when you look at it from...
That's not reality.
It's not. And when you look at it from FedEx Forum's point of view, and they can say, we've got the only professional team, nationally professional team, top-level team in the city. We also are home to the college team, the basketball team, the Tigers. And then you go when you look at what they're drawing over at baseball and what they're drawing at soccer, I think you can easily make the case that says we deserve the bulk of the money. We deserve, if not all of it, most of it, because we're the one that are drawing it. And so
we're pulling our weight.
Exactly. So I think there's a great case to be made there. And like you said a couple weeks ago, when you look at that number at face value, you go, that's a lot of money, but then when you kind of start dividing it and going, well, this is what they're trying to build over here, this is what they're trying to do here, this is what they're doing there, it becomes, that's not as much money as we kind of thought it was to begin with.
No, and it never is on any big, allocation, any big handout. Mm-hmm. It gets gobbled up quickly, and it's almost never enough. We're with you till 5:30 today. We have to get out early for Ole Miss, Missouri baseball, Ole Miss at Mizzou, and Ole Miss down to 3 SEC weekends left. And at minimum, 2-1, the next 3 really probably need 3 sweeps to get in NCAA tournament conversation, even to get into Hoover for SEC tournament on that Tuesday when it's one and done day, when it's single elimination on Tuesday, and then you get into the jigsaw Sudoku puzzle that is the SEC tournament bracket that starts on Wednesday in Hoover. But they're facing that on the road at Mizzou this weekend, at home next weekend against Auburn, and then close out the year against Alabama. Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
And Alabama baseball, have you ever seen it make more news than it's made the last 5 days?
I don't know if I've ever seen a baseball program make more news and more negative news than Alabama has. That's a great point.
And Brian, have you seen today? It is too funny. There are some near and far, local and national, that you cannot get them to mention an SEC story. Right. SEC football, SEC basketball, SEC at the draft, SEC anything. that are tweeting and retweeting today about this scandal. Look, it deserves it, but all's quiet on the Western Front when it's any good news. But there's a couple things at play there. You mention betting, scandal, fix, rigged, you're going to get a lot of attention.
That's right.
You throw in Alabama, you throw in the SEC,
That's right.
and here they come. And some of them, as I have said to you and I have said many years now, and I will not be dissuaded about it, there are some college football writers with big-time profiles at big-time places, and up until 2 weeks ago they had big-time blue check marks doing it, that have had fabulous lives covering college football or even college sports, but especially college football. If they could, they would write down the takedown story tomorrow
100%.
that ended it. And they're out in force today with this story. It's almost too rich.
It really is. It's insane because the way that this story kind of came out, it was interesting because it was just spur of the moment. Nobody knew what was happening at first, and then it turned into this big thing of, okay, well, this seems to be a story here, but maybe not, and I really thought we were kind of done with it. And now this just adds an extra layer to it, so I'm sure we'll get more information about it, but you're right, it's a fascinating story.
It is fascinating. I even peeked in to check out maybe the biggest SEC baseball hater out there to see if he had weighed in, because he usually does on payrolls and budgets and why does it matter so much. And Jay Billis, he doesn't have anything about it today. He's just tweeting along lyrics to hip-hop songs. And I saw where he made his pick for the tournament in Charlotte. I guess he lives there in Charlotte for the Wells Fargo, and it makes me question my pick now because he picked Xander Schauffele.
Ooh, yeah, I don't know about that, but hey, maybe he'll be right this week.
This hour of our show brought to you every day by Lexus of Memphis, the one and only Lexus dealership in town. They are at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Give them a call at 901-334-9673. Great offers on all 2023 models and always special leasing options. Drive in luxury and confidence, knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2023 flagship LS500. You'll be looking and you'll be driving in style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design they make for the luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
My top story of the day is going right back to kind of what we opened on the Cardinals, and I'm having a little trouble here, Brett, because I don't know who I should blame for this. At first, I wanted to blame Ollie Marmol for the job he did, but then I had to step back a little bit, and I said, well, here's the thing. He did not decide the players on this roster going into the season. I'm sure he did not want to have Steven Matz and Jake Woodford in his starting rotation to start the season. And so then I took another step back and kind of watched the game last night, and I was watching the errors and the team putting on 4 runs on Shohei Ohtani on 5 hits. That's the most hits Shohei Ohtani's given up this year.
Knocked him out.
The second most runs he's given up this year. Just a great outing against Shohei. And then I watched him go to Gio in the 9th inning, which Gio's been good. Gio's been really good the past month or so. Shouldn't say month or so. We're only a month in. The past couple weeks. And then Gio give up back-to-back bombs and give up that game was awful. And so I said, you know what? Maybe I am blaming Ollie Marmol too much for this. He's not the one out there giving up home runs. He didn't put together this roster. But, Brett, I don't know if you saw his post-game press conference last night.
Watched every second of it.
It didn't sit right with me at all because I didn't watch it to begin with. Once that game was over, honestly, I was ready to turn it off.
I was live tweeting with Gabe and Rob Fisher about it.
I was ready to be over with that game right after
live
I saw
texting, I'm sorry,
That's
not
what.
tweeting. I got my terminology upset.
Basically the same thing. But I was so upset after that game, I immediately changed the channel after it. But I saw on Twitter some people coming to the defense of Ollie Marmol. He has passion. He has heart. Other people saying, "What is this fool talking about?" So I had
talking
to go.
about a parade down Clark Street.
I had to go and I had to listen to it. And Ollie just. he cuts off
Which
reporters.
The parade comes down Market Street and turns to Clark, but he probably doesn't know that.
It's a great point. He's got to be there first. But he has this attitude with reporters, I feel.
So cocky.
He cuts them off when they're asking a question. I don't know who the reporter was that asked the question. He stares them down, Brett.
The look of why are you looking at me like that for?
Yes. And I don't know who asked the question. Somebody, because if you were on Twitter, I know you probably weren't on Twitter last night, Brett, but everybody, if you watched the game on television, you heard it. Every beat reporter that covers the Cardinals was tweeting about how loud the boos were last night at Busch Stadium.
Oh, never heard of loud.
And so a reporter, that's right, a reporter asked a question wanting to bring up the fans booing, and Ali Marmol cuts him off before he can get his question out and starts going on this long rant about, you think the fans care more than us? You think we don't care about wins and losses?
Said you were insane.
Yes! And, I get it, Ali. You're upset. The season has not started off well. But Ali Marmol, he's just not sitting right with me.
There was a lot of his press conference that I did like the passion and his defense of his staff and their care. And we know inside a clubhouse, locker room, a football building, they care more than the fan that cares the most. But then he got way off track, and he's not going to be able to talk his way out of this one. My top story, Golden State, a 6-point favorite tonight at Chase Center in downtown San Francisco. A 6 o'clock local start. Lakers looking to go up 2-0. 463 franchise wins all time for the Lakers between Minneapolis and Tinseltown. Boston second at 401. Philly third at 247. Total control of this series can be taken by the Lakers, or can it? Because the Warriors got down 2-0 last time, but it wasn't at falling down 2-0 at home in the last series. But we know how good they are and how proud they are. Nobody alive will see the Grizzlies ever top the Lakers in playoff wins. The Grizzlies at 38 all-time playoff wins. Bryant, your grandchildren may not see the Grizzlies pass the Lakers all-time in playoff wins.
Not top story of the day.
That's hard to believe, Brett. It really is. That could have been your big number of the day. Almost.
You'll be a I got even better with that.
Man.
You'll be a granddad someday. It's just going to be a long time.
It's going to be hopefully a long time from now. But my not top story of the day involves what happened last night with the Tigers basketball team, because a lot happened in only a couple hours last night. The first news was that Alabama guard Jaden Bradley, who a lot of people have linked to Memphis, committed to Arizona, which is a big, big, big news for Tiger fans, because a lot of people thought that he was a lock for Memphis, that he came on an official visit, seemed like he liked it a lot, and that he had basically committed. And then the rumor started coming around. Well, it's been a week. He hasn't committed. Why hasn't he committed? A lot of people tying it to NIL, and the money wasn't right for Jaden Bradley. We had we were talking to David Cobb, me and Jay Morgan, Tuesday on John Harden's show, and I asked him about Jaden Bradley, and anybody and everybody needs to go over to CBS Sports. David Cobb updates, I think, almost daily, maybe weekly, his transfer portal players. And I asked him about Jaden Bradley, and he said if the issue is NIL, Coach Hardaway needs to drop the bag for Jaden Bradley. Whatever he wants, you give it to this guy. That's how good he is. Well, last night he chose Arizona and Tommy Lloyd's program, which we know Arizona has a history of maybe or maybe not paying players. This time, it's legal. I guess they got the bag right.
They pay it.
But just an hour later, Jalen Young, the point guard for UCF, committed to Memphis. I'm wondering, because of the timing of it, if it was now that Jaden Bradley has committed to a different school, I'll go to Memphis and try to be their guy. But it was definitely an interesting night to be a Tiger fan.
Okay, couple questions there. Do we know and we'll ask this at 5 o'clock when we visit with Greg Gasson about the Tigers, how well funded is the 901 Collective?
Bingo. Great question.
And can you drop a bag on someone? And then if you do you have anything left for other sports? I don't know those answers.
That's and really not a lot of people do, because it's so new. There's so many moving pieces. You're right. That's a very interesting question.
And another thing on the UCF player, I went game by game looking at his points and assist totals. That's not Kendrick Davis.
No, a lot of people, when Memphis started recruiting him, said would love to have him as a backup point guard. So I think a lot of questions still need to be answered for that roster next year.
My not top story, it's all love in New York. I don't know if I've ever seen puppy love quite like this. Well, maybe since I was 15 or 16 at Junior Cotillion, but I mean the I Heart New York button should be everywhere. Aaron Rodgers has taken over town. He could do anything right now. He could walk in and tell Derek Jeter and his wife to get up. I want that table at the best restaurant in town. Eli Manning, who was that guy? What did he ever do in New York? And poor Daniel Jones. He actually led a team to the playoffs last year, and nobody even knows who he is. Next Thursday is the NFL schedule release date, and we're going to get a lot of the Jets, and we should. It's properly a big story, but they are infatuated and deeply in love. You can get ready for premier games. I think you can circle this one. I have this is just a guess. I have no information. New York Jets, Thanksgiving Day at Dallas Cowboys.
Whoa. Brett, I'd be all for that.
And I'll go out and say when they go to Vegas to play the Raiders and their designated home game at MetLife Stadium against the Giants, doesn't that just scream Monday Night Football, both of those?
100%. Screams it.
It really does. That's our top and not top stories for the day. Here's our lineup. We're going to talk NBA playoffs and baseball to round out hour one. Starting hour two, as we do every single Thursday, Keith Smith on the NBA from Spot Track. At 4:30, we're going to go more in depth about the Alabama issue and the year in sports, starting in September to now for the big three at Bama. Football, well, that was less than what they really like. Basketball, my goodness. And now baseball, kind of a double, my goodness. 4:45, our big number of the day. At 5 o'clock, we'll visit with Greg Gaston. About 5:19 or so, we'll have Taco Bell Crunch Time, and we're out early for Ole Miss baseball as they go to Mizzou to play the Missouri Tigers in Columbia. You're listening to Sports Time on Sports 56.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hey Memphis football fans, it's head coach Ryan Silverfield. We need you to commit to Memphis football today by purchasing season tickets. They start at just $99. Bring the entire family and come watch the 901's football team in action. Our players always talk about the support of Tiger Nation, and you truly make a difference each and every game when we run out of that tunnel. We want to see you at Memphis football game this year. Go Tigers, go.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. You're driving along and some nimrod cuts you off. You hit the horn. Jeez, it sounds like a goose in distress. Time to head over to eBay Motors. They have horns for every make and model, not to mention horn pads, steering wheels, wiring, and more. 122 million parts. You can even go for an upgrade. Now, it looks like Mr. Cutoff Man needs a new seat cover. Try eBay Motors, pal. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
Quote based on healthy, non-smoking 30-year-old female with a 20-year term policy. Rates may vary. Eligible policies and estate planning tools can vary by state.
It's a busy life. You have enough to worry about. So here's a great way to check life insurance off your list. It's called Ethos. With the thought of medical exams, forms to fill out, and the cost, it's easy to see why life insurance can fall to the bottom of your to-do list. But at Ethos Life, we've got your back. For about $1 a day, you could get $250,000 in term life insurance without a medical exam. Just go online, answer a few health questions, and snap! Family protected. You could get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and be covered in hours. No medical exams, no blood tests, no hassle. Right now, with your purchase of an eligible policy from Ethos, you'll get something else important to your family. Tools to create a legal will. A $449 value, yours free. Ethos, the 100% online, hassle-free way to get affordable life insurance. Get your free online quote now at ethoslife.com. That's ETHOS life.com.
Chris Price, it's so good to see you. And you have a new business?
Yes, Dave. MetroBuildersMemphis.com. Have you noticed water stains on your ceiling? With storm season here, take a walk around your home or business and look up. Make sure there are no water stains signaling a leak prior to the heavy storms coming in. If you do see signs of water, call me. My team and I will come out, diagnose the problem, and prescribe a fix. Our team of Hague-certified inspectors are waiting to assist with any inspection or repairs you may need. We have 3 crews dedicated to repairing roofs in the Mid-South. As certified Owens Corning Corning, and Mule High dealers, we offer 20-year, no-dollar limit labor and material warranties that offer hassle-free ownership. That's our hassle-free ownership guarantee. Allow Metro Builders team of professionals to assist you in maintaining your property's integrity and value.
MetroBuildersMemphis.com.
Your local commercial roof experts. Ask about our commercial roof maintenance agreements. Protect your investment with
MetroBuildersMemphis.com.
Call me, 901-375-1717. That's 901-375-1717. 375-1717.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
I know the sweetest thing in Memphis, and I know it's been around for 120 years. You know, I'm talking about Dinstall's, and it's time to stock up heavy on Cashew Crunch, Heavenly Crunch, Turtlettes, all of your favorite Dinstall's treats to watch the playoff games and to watch all the basketball. It's so easy to get. The sweetest thing in Memphis, all you have to do is head to Laurelwood or head to Germantown and Poplar right across from the hospital, or go where they make the candies. That's on Pleasant View. There's nothing that says Memphis better than Cashew Crunch with that little tinge of coconut, or the Turtlettes. Let's face it, there's nothing better than Dinstall's chocolate. That's the mainstay of all candies, isn't it? Milk chocolate, although their dark chocolate is pretty darn good. And if you get the peppermint with the dark chocolate and put it in the freezer, you're going to love it. So many ways to love Dinstall's. 115 years of making Memphis oh so sweet.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stats Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Alongside Bryant Dacus, I'm Brett Norsworthy, and this is Sports Time. Jay Morgan Harder out today. We hope he's back with us tomorrow. I feel like he will be. And we are with you until 5:30 today before we get out for Ole Miss and Mizzou baseball. In the NBA, we're down to that time of year, Bryant. And last year it was fun. The Grizzlies were part of the last Elite Eight. We're down to 8 teams, 4 on each side, and only one game tonight when we had all the various games going last week and during the first round. But tonight, just one. Golden State now a 7-point favorite tonight at home against the Lakers. And I touched on it in my top story about tonight's game. Very different than last round. That was on the road at Sacramento, and you knew the Golden State kind of had that look about them. Let's get back to Chase Center, get everything, pardon the pun, centered, kind of back on keel. Not the case tonight. Fall down 2-0. Then the Lakers really just need 1 out of 2 at Crypto.
Yeah, no, tonight is an extremely important game, and I think you kind of said that line, it continues to grow for Golden State. That's kind of a reflection of how important people think this game is because, I mean, as the Warriors are one of the great teams maybe you could say of all time. It's hard to go down 2-0 to a Lakers team. You'd go on the road to Crypto.com Arena now, and it'd be a raucous fan base that really 5 months ago didn't even think they would be in this position, didn't even think they'd be in the playoffs. And so I think you'd have a great crowd for both those games. So I think it would be a very uphill battle if they don't go and tie the series tonight.
And those Lakers crowds, you could see it and you could feel it on television, and everybody that was there from the Memphis angle that I've talked to that covered those games said that the Grizzlies, for every game there, they walked in to a really hot house. And, we heard that stat, that fact that was the first time in the LeBron era that he had played at Crypto in front of full crowds at playoff time. Yeah. So they're really rocking there. And I've been one of them. Brian, I have been one of them to mildly criticize, poke at the Bear, poke at LeBron James about that, air quotes here, janky bubble title. Mm-hmm. No air quotes at all. That's exactly what I said. It's quote quotes. It's no air quotes to it. It was quote quotes. If he pulled off this one And to his legacy, I mean, it would be at the rest of the summer on the hot take shows of maybe the unthinkable, him passing Michael Jordan to be considered as the greatest ever.
Yeah, I think you definitely have to have that argument. Just what he's done. If he adds another championship to it, being able to do it on the amount of teams he's done it, and
three different teams
is extremely impressive. And I know there's kind of all the conversation there about, well, when LeBron goes to a team, he kind of becomes the GM of that team, and he demands who he wants his teammates, and he almost creates that team. But I would say good on him. He's made some pretty good teams to compete for titles. So, yeah, I definitely think you would have that. You already really have it, especially my age group. There's a lot of argument on who's the greatest, Michael or LeBron. So I definitely think if he wins another one, it will be, headline to headline when it comes to July and August television.
Even to get to another conference championship would be quite noteworthy, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And like we said the other day, not far from it, and you go up 2-0 tonight, you got to feel good about it. But I do think as much as LeBron James impacts a game, I think this series is going to be impacted on what Anthony Davis can do from game to game.
Down low.
It's got to be.
Low.
And I think you saw
He can't go 30 and 20 again, but how about just a little old bitty 25 and 15?
I would take that every day. I mean, what he can do.
I think they would too.
Yeah, and what I know what the whole narrative is he can't stay healthy, which is going to be a factor here late. I mean, the more games you play in postseason, the more it's going to take to remain healthy. But him going out and grabbing 20 rebounds a game, 15 rebounds a game, and adding 20 or so points is huge, especially when you see LeBron James kind of at times throughout these playoffs, especially against the Grizzlies, you almost see him in a more facilitating role and not the cold-blooded, I'm going to just make shots anywhere I want to. He's really kind of facilitating that offense and finding good opportunities. I think it's all what Anthony Davis can do.
Who are you for in this series?
That's a great question. I would say the Lakers.
Me too.
I would say the Lakers. I don't like it, but I mean the whole they beat us, so I want them to go far. But also, I really love Rui Hachimura, and I love what he did in that first round. So I'll probably say the Lakers.
901-360-8255. Call us, text us. Who are you for? Because we got a lot of pass with Golden State, and we just had the last 2 weeks with the Lakers. I don't know about deep enmity with them. It might be some with all the Laker fans that do invade, take over almost every NBA arena. But you can't really be too mad about that. They've established that. But who are you for in this series? 901-360-8255. On the other side in the West, who are you for in that one, Bryant?
Probably, I'd probably have to pick Phoenix. I've always been a Kevin Durant fan since he's been at Texas, so I like Kevin Durant a lot. I know a lot of people he kind of burned bridges with in terms of fandom because of going to Golden State and stuff, but I love Kevin Durant, so I'll say Phoenix.
I don't really mind either side that way. I'm definitely for the Lakers in this round. And I think I would be for the winner of Denver-Phoenix in the next round because neither have ever won a title, and Denver's never been in the NBA Finals. And I like seeing firsties. I like seeing teams and towns and places finally get to experience that. And, I can't wait till someday, and I think it will be soon. I think before you have grandkids,
I hope so.
that the Grizzlies have that moment, have that feeling, and have that fun. I like seeing that. But I came out of that Lakers-Grizzlies series not with newfound, because it was there, but maybe a deeper appreciation of LeBron James and how he handled, one clown in his face.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because it was really I kind of agree with that, because he was really in the moment, in the game, kind of, I'm not going to worry about you. I'm going to handle my business. I'm here to win games. I'm not here to go back and forth with you. And then after you knock the team out, then you can go out there and kind of flex a little bit. But yeah, you're right. I mean,
if LeBron James can't go scoreboard, who can?
Exactly.
Scoreboard, bank account, rings.
Yeah.
I mean, gravitas.
Yeah.
I mean, if he can't do it, and to have this largely nobody in his face poking the bear, calling him an old man, I still would love to know exactly what the dialogue was before that game out there and what was said with LeBron James. I think Cadley was saying, I was telling him my birthday.
Yeah. I would love to hear, too, because that was an interesting LeBron coming over very serious, just saying, like, 10 seconds worth of things and then turning around and walking back and getting on with his warm-ups.
And am I right that LeBron James and Tiger Woods share a birth date, maybe not same year, but same date, December 30th?
Maybe. Let me look that up.
I think that's right. But tonight at Chase Center with the Lakers up 1-0, Golden State, they're hosting the Lakers, and that place would be wild. I didn't think the Lakers had anybody that could stay with Steph Curry. They did a good job of running a couple different people at him, someone always fresh, and then in the late game double team. And I thought Jared Vanderbilt had a great game on him.
Yeah, Jared Vanderbilt is one of their better defenders for sure, and they kind of lean on him to take on that role of guarding those shooters. You're also right, Tiger Woods, LeBron James do share a birthday on December 30th. I believe Tiger's about 8
Tiger
years.
1975,
Correct.
LeBron 76.
No, 84. LeBron's
84.
38.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh, my math was terrible.
It's okay.
Don't run math at us, right?
That's exactly right. Never with me. I think you and Jay Morgan have
You're
a better
never
shot.
a rookie in the fall of 2003 at 19 and be born in 76. Come on, Brett, get it together.
It's a good plan. It's all right.
901-360-8255. Tell us who you're for tonight, because a little bit of a past very recently with one, and last year a lot with the other when we were in the middle of that a year ago. And tomorrow night we get back into the other side of the West, and with last night's big winner, Boston, they really put it on Philadelphia last night with Joel Embiid. They get back for Game 3 tomorrow night in Philly. You're talking about a fun-loving crowd. That'd be on a Friday night. And then tomorrow night late, the Phoenix Suns, they host Denver as they are down 2-0 to Denver. And, you know tomorrow what the talk on Phoenix Sports Talk Radio will be. That word, M-U-S-T, it's must.
Yeah, must win. And Jay Morgan, he has kind of said multiple times that he has been so impressed with what Denver's done to start the playoffs. And I have a couple theories on why not a lot of people were high on Denver going into the playoffs. I think kind of that last 2 weeks or so, they lost a handful of games, kind of dropped a few.
After I crowned them.
After
I started the magic number countdown.
You did, and they started dropping a lot. I think they kind of knew that they were comfortable in the spot they were at. But, you see that, and then the whole play-in games now where, you see the whole schedule of games, but there's not a team next to Denver, so you can't really talk about that game in that matchup because you don't know who they're going to play. So I think a lot of that kind of played into the people not really thinking much about Denver, me included. But he has pointed out multiple times that how impressed he is with what Denver has done in the first round and in these first two games against Phoenix. Because like we talk about, even though Chris Paul was injured in that first game, you got to think with the all-star caliber players they have on Phoenix's roster that they would be able to kind of adapt to not playing with him and kind of be able to go out and win a game. And we'll see if they can do that in Game 3. But I've been really impressed with what Denver's done.
That big four now down to big three for Phoenix as they will miss Chris Paul for this game and at least two more reportedly yesterday. Him out with the groin injury, and every year it seems like something gets him in playoffs. We'll get back into NBA playoff talk and some Grizzlies talk with Keith Smith at the top of the hour, closer to 4:01 when Keith Smith from Spot Track joins us to talk NBA. When we come back, we talk baseball, and we'll get an update of what's going on at 3rd and Union with the Redbirds game. You're listening to Sports Time.
You already know you can listen to Sports 56 anywhere with the Sports 56 app or at sports56whbq.com. But you can also watch us daily with live video of all of our shows on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.
Everything's greening up, and it's my favorite time of the year because we start playing golf, and I got the best place to go play golf. That is beautiful Miramichi in Woodstock, about 12 minutes from downtown. This gorgeous place, well, it's challenging, but the scenery is so darn beautiful. And did you know that Miramichi Golf Course now offers memberships? It's a great way to play more golf for less out of pocket. Their membership runs $300 a month plus tax and includes unlimited rounds, range balls, no extra cart fees, priority tee time booking, and discounts in the pro shop. There is no initiation fee. So you want to go and just practice? They got the best practice facilities around. Unlimited range balls, and it's $300 a month plus play whenever you want to. It's a win-win. Call today for your membership. You want to act fast because there are only a few spots left at the great Miramichi.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
The Showboats are back in Memphis.
We can't wait to have you for the USFL.
Let's go. Get your seats now for this weekend's home game.
Here we go.
Be a part of the new era of pro football at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium as the Showboats seek to reclaim their USFL legacy. Tickets start at just $10, so bring the whole family. And don't miss the Showboats' exciting matchup.
It's a touchdown.
Buy your tickets today at theusfl.com.
Did you know nearly 40% of men under 40 and over 75% of men over the age of 40 experience sexual performance concerns? At the Memphis Men's Clinic, their experienced physician performs a comprehensive evaluation that determines which specific issues may interfere with your sexual performance. These issues can vary and range from anxiety to medical issues, low testosterone, or erectile dysfunction. The Memphis Men's Clinic has evaluated hundreds of men of all ages over the years and reestablished a normal sexual life. The Memphis Men's Clinic will work aggressively to resolve issues and allow you to restore your sexual health and overall well-being. That's the Memphis way. If you're 20 years old or 90 years old, come and get cared for the Memphis way. Treatment that's based on your specific needs after a professional clinical evaluation by their experienced board-certified physician. Call the Memphis Men's Clinic today at 901-443-0475 or visit memphismensclinic.com.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stats Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Our very own Greg Gaston talk Tigers with us about 5 o'clock. Keith Smith coming up about 4 o'clock, but right now we talk Major League Baseball. And I said the other day, Brian, about right now, a lot of baseball to play. Yep. But right now, these kind of darling upset stories, I'm kind of into. I'm okay with the Red Hot Pirates. I like what the Orioles, what they're doing. Okay with Arizona. And today, you've got the full meltdown of us in Cardinal country, and you had Brian Cashman having to allay fears in New York of everything will be okay. Cardinals and Yankees on the panic button.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting year in baseball. I mean, you also look the Tigers beating the Mets 2-0 today, and Justin Verlander's
swept them yesterday.
Yeah, so I mean, it's
one doubleheader.
Yeah. So it's an interesting start to the season, but you're right. I'm all in on a 20-10 Orioles team that has a ton of young talent. I'm all in on a Pirates team that leads the division. I love these teams that aren't the New York market or the LA market or these teams that have the young talent and not the Aaron Judges of the world that come out and they just play baseball. They're just having fun and they're just winning games.
And I like it also because kind of the original. Now it is definitely swung to SEC football and college football because of the Alabama dynasty. This refrain of, well, you know who's going to win it before the season ever starts.
Yeah.
And then when you hit people that say such idiotic things like that with something really gnarly and wascally like the facts, it always blows their mind. Even with that thinking in college football, in this 21st century, we've had 12 different winners.
Yeah.
That's only one behind college basketball, and it's ahead of the NBA, and it's only one behind the NFL. The sport that's produced the most different winning teams in the 21st century was the original one labeled with that. Well, you go to spring training and you know only 6 teams can win it all. You know, Yankees, Red Sox, Dodgers, and fill in a few more. No, that's not true at all. 15 different teams, the most out of Major League Baseball, the NBA, the NFL, college basketball, and college football that our nation has. They've had 15 different winners, including the Chicago Cubs finally breaking that long streak.
Yeah. So it's been a lot of fun. But I'm curious, Brett, because I've been thinking about this, and you talk about some of these young teams and really young players that we're kind of seeing shine this year and in the past couple of years. And we were talking the other day. It was about the Mariners. It was about Bryce Miller, who they called up the other night, and he was coming straight from AA. And you made the comment: is AA turning into AAA baseball?
It is.
What I think is also interesting, in addition to that, is I feel like we're starting to see a lot of these teams fast-pace players to the majors. So in this Cardinals series, it was actually Jay Morgan and my brother Connor that pointed it out to me because I didn't even realize he was with the Angels. But Zach Neto, who's been their starting shortstop this series, he was just drafted in last year's 2022 draft out of Campbell, and he played maybe a handful of games in the minor leagues, 27 total at-bats this year in minor league baseball, 174 total minor league bats in his career before being called up this year to the Angels. So, I mean, this is something that you're not seeing as much of in the past. Certainly, you see guys spend 2 or 3 or 4 years in minor league baseball. I'm starting to think, and you're starting to kind of see this trend happen in hockey too, where teams are almost wanting young players to go play college baseball or college hockey to develop them instead of going to those single-A rookie ball systems to develop. I think that's a trend you're going to start seeing, and if that's true, I think that's great for college baseball and almost makes the baseball product even better at all levels, I think.
And there's a couple, I agree with that, and there's a couple more contributing factors, I think, to it. For one thing, it used to be a big disparity between where you at AAA ballparks compared to AA ballparks.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of these AA ballparks and Major League Baseball instituted, you've got to have certain specs, certain type facilities, or you're not getting an affiliation, you're not getting a team anymore. These AA parks are not quite the separation they used to be. And not just because of today's faux pas, but the infields used to. I mean, it was some rugged infields at some AA ballparks back in the day. Now everything's pristine. The college impact for sure. Where we have college baseball now, especially kind of in the sunshine states, it's really being played at a higher level. And those baseball academies and the young baseball in the Latin American countries, that's really been really forever a feeder system to the Cardinals. It's really laughable when somebody might say about the Latin American influence now. We've always had Latin American players. Let me give you 2 of my favorites, Julian Javier and Orlando Cepeda.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's just nothing at all new about that.
It's not. No, it's been there, but you're seeing a more influx of it, I guess, lately. But I think it's interesting how teams are kind of changing the way they go about these minor league systems and these young players by almost the development is different, because used to it was a very linear. You go from single A to double A, you do good in double A, you go to triple A, you do good in triple A, and you go to the majors. And now it's you might start in double A and then go to in single A, then go to double A, and then go to the show go, or you might start in AA. I mean, I've seen these young kids even out of high school nowadays. Jackson Holiday has already gotten up to, I think, either single A or high single A, and he's an 18-year-old kid. I mean, it's the level that these guys are being taught at a young age, I think, is better, like you said, at kind of these higher profile academies, both in other countries and here in the States. I think we're developing better baseball players.
We are. They have it down. And Brian, you played in it. Your brother played in it. You know it. The feeder system now, these travel baseball teams and these academies, like Doolin Dodgers, like Tim Doolin. Yeah. My friend Tim Doolin's great operation. And they are pumping the players out. Jackson Holiday, Matt Holiday's son, #1 pick. Help me, where is he?
Orioles.
He's coming up with that bunch. Well, the Orioles are doing exactly what the Astros did. Okay, we're buried for a long time, but we're going to draft right and get it right.
Yeah, so, I mean, you've already got they've got 2 rookies on that team right now that are playing in the bigs. You've got Jackson Holiday, who I'd say is probably 2 or 3, probably 4 years away. But, I mean, here, if they can keep everything right there in Baltimore, they could have a really good team here in a couple years.
Redbirds down 9-5 downtown at AutoZone Park right now to Jacksonville in the bigs today. The Rays win 3-2 over the Pirates. Tigers 2-0, as Bryant said earlier, over the Mets. That gets the Mets to 16 up, 16 down. 4-3 the Nationals in our nation's capital over the Cubs this afternoon, and a lot of games going on right now. Braves lead 3-2 in the bottom of the third over the Marlins. Mariners 5-3 over the A's in the top of the fifth. Seats are available. Brewers 4-2 over the Rockies, bottom of 7. Twins and White Sox tied 2-2 after 10 going into the top of the 11th. And the aforementioned Orioles lead 10-9, bottom of the 8th, in a wild one over the Royals in Kansas City. If you haven't heard, the Cardinals losing streak continues. They lose 11-7 to the Halos, now 10-22 on the season for the Cardinals, last place in the National League Central and the worst record in the National League. I don't think I have ever had to say that this late, but also this early in a year in a long time on a May 4th. When we come back, we talk NBA. We do it with Keith Smith from Spot Track. You're listening to Sports Time.
Hey, Memphis football fans, it's head coach Ryan Silverfield. We need you to commit to Memphis football today by purchasing season tickets. They start at just $99. Bring the entire family and come watch the 901's football team in action. Our players always talk about the support of Tiger Nation, and you truly make a difference each and every game when we run out of that tunnel. We want to see you at Memphis football game this year. Go Tigers, go.
Brian Elder Roofing, 867-0303. You've known the name for 30 years. You might even remember him from nearly 20 years on Kix 106 as half of the Young and Elder Show. Now, 13 years later, Brian Elder is the largest purchaser of Owens Corning shingles in Memphis. Call him right now, 867-0303. Certified and trained by Owens Corning to earn a reputation for quality and expertise matched by no one. Don't let them tell you it has to be replaced when all it needs is a repair. Call right now, 867-0303. He'll climb every inch of your roof. He'll go into your attic and run a moisture and ventilation test using state-of-the-art equipment to make certain you're protected from mold and other contaminants. You may be causing respiratory problems for your family and not even know it. We're waiting for your call, 867-0303 or BrianElderRoofing.com.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
A good friend of mine told me about this awesome place for lunch.
Oh, yeah? What's the name?
Neil's Grill and Bar, where the fat man rocks. Everybody knows Neil.
Where's it located?
It's located in Yorkshire Square off Quince.
And what's it like?
The best lunch place in Memphis. You know, like real mashed potatoes and gravy. Everything is made from scratch. Monday through Friday, daily lunch specials like Monday baked chicken, Italian Tuesday, spaghetti, ravioli, Italian spinach, delicious fried catfish, fried chicken livers every Wednesday, Friday, Salisbury steak, barbecue chicken, or if you just want a vegetable plate, the best veggies in town.
What about the lunch price?
Meat and 2 veggies, $8.95. Meat and 3 veggies, $10.95. And veggie plate, $9.95. Big fat boy portions, man.
Man, you're making me hungry.
Come hear the best live local music at Neil's. Eddie Smith plays Sundays 5 to 9, Mondays karaoke, Tuesdays Debbie Jameson, Wednesdays Elmo and the Shades, Thursdays John Williams and the A440 Band at Neil's.
Where the fat man rocks.
I've always gotten tons of UTIs. Cranberry products never worked for me, and I was desperate for a way to be proactive. I'm Jenna Ryan, CEO and founder of Eucora. We've worked with doctors to develop effective urinary tract health products. Eucora is helping over 100,000 women stay healthy. Ready to join them? Get 30% off at eucora.com/radio. That's UQORA.com/radio.
These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? Just go to 4hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, and the process is 100% online. To start your free online visit, go to 4hims.com/joy. That's FORHIMS.com/JOY.
There's an institution in East Memphis that I love talking about. It's the Spirit Shop at 4848 Poplar Avenue, right down the street from Clark Tower, and it looks like a log cabin. It's been around Memphis since 1969 with a family-owned, friendly, knowledgeable sales staff that is just a wonderful place to go. I love going in and talking wine or bourbons, and they've got such great selection. So if you've not visited the Spirit Shop in a while, it's been remodeled. You'll love what you see when you need spirits. Tell Eddie Wollo said hello.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253 DF Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
We welcome you back to the second hour of Sports Time for this Thursday afternoon, May 4th, 2023. Bryant Dacus with me. I'm Brett Norsworthy, and we're with you until about 5:30 when Ole Miss baseball starts from Columbia against the Missouri Tigers. Every Thursday at this time, we have the real joy and the real learning experience every week to talk to one of the great NBA reporters out there. Our friend Keith Smith joins us from Spot Track, also contributes to the Celtic blog and the front office show. He's on Twitter at Keith Smith NBA, and he joins us now. Your Boston Celtics got everything back right last night on the famed parquet. What is it about Joel Embiid in a playoff series against the Celtics, Keith?
Yeah, I think, obviously, last night he started out pretty good, but then he didn't look so hot at the end of that game. He was really laboring late in the first half. I think he had 5 blocks all in the first half, if I remember correctly. And he just, but by the end of the half, you saw him grabbing at the knee. He was fidgeting with the knee brace and all that. But even you take it back to when he's been mostly healthy, coming in, the Celtics just have a lot of different guys they throw at him. They have a lot of different looks they throw at him defensively, and they really do a good job of keeping him off kind of kilter on the offensive end. And then defensively, if he's going to sit back in that drop coverage, the Celtics are more than happy to pull up and take jump shots or take short runners or whatever it is against him there.
Keith, after the game, Joe Mazzulla a little upset that nobody wanted to ask him about the adjustments he made from Game 1 to Game 2. So I'll ask you, what did you think about the adjustments Joe Mazzulla made from Game 1 to Game 2?
Yeah, I thought he made a handful of really good calls. I thought they did a couple of them towards the end of Game 1. They raised their pickup points, meaning instead of letting guys run their actions around the three-point line, they started picking guys up closer in the three-point arc in half court. So that was big. He switched his initial coverages and matchups. He put Jaylen Brown onto James Harden, and that showed Harden a little bit more size right out of the gate. They did not switch everything. Their guards, especially, were fighting through and on or over the screens as the bigs hedged and came up and made life a little bit more difficult. So just different looks. And then Joel Embiid drew Al Horford, then Marcus Smart. Then he ended up picking up Grant Williams for a little while. I mean, they had all different kinds of looks at Embiid, at James Harden, and that was the good stuff. And then offensively, he was very upset that they overdid it with taking layups. Now, that sounds weird in Game 1 because they kind of ran a layup line, but when Philly adjusted, it turned into they were still passing down perfectly good three-point shots to try and force layups. In this game, they got back into their, hey, if you have it wide open, take the layup. But otherwise, let's work our drive and kick game and let's make it happen that way.
Keith, there's so many things from way back at Florida as MOP on those Gators back-to-back national championship teams to throughout his legendary NBA career. I even remember his dad, Tito, very, very well. I just love Al Horford, but watching him this year, and I don't know why it took till this year for me to notice it and maybe appreciate it more, but if there's a loose ball or if that ball's in the air and kind of up for grabs for a rebound, man, that guy must have some strong hands because he's going to scoop it up.
Yeah, he really does. He's one of the guys, too, who he strips guys when they're going up for shots that don't generally get the ball stripped out of their hands. And that's been, something that's been, kind of a hallmark of his. And then I think this year, to your point of he's going up and getting after it now, I think Al Horford is realizing, hey, this is a lot closer to the end than it is to, never mind the beginning, but even the peak. If I want one of these titles, I got to get it now. And I've got a really good chance here. And I think that's why you hear him speak with such angst in his voice. Like when the Celtics came out with they didn't play the right way in Game 1. They didn't play with the right amount of force and pressure. And, they just kind of relaxed and openly admitted they relaxed when they found out Joel Embiid was out. I think that's why you hear that pains Al Horford. I think Al Horford is very much in a position of, hey, I got to make this happen right now. Like, I don't know how many more cracks at this I'm really going to get, and I need to make the most of them.
Both series in the East now tied at 1 apiece. Tonight, after Lakers and Warriors, that one could be tied 1 apiece. It really highlights not only Denver up 2-0 and getting both of those in Denver, but this long break for them before they play Game 3 tomorrow night, Keith.
Yeah, it does. I think, the Nuggets are, in a very good way, they're playing with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, where it is, hey, you guys talked all about the Warriors are going to win, and maybe the Lakers will win. Maybe the Clippers, the Suns, they're the favorites to come out of the conference. Hand up, we are the number 1 seed. We were the best team in the conference. Like, we have a good team. We are actually healthy going into these playoffs, unlike a lot of these other teams. And I think that is where they're playing that way now, where it is, we're going to show you, who we are. And I think for some people, this is the first look they're really getting at this Nuggets team to understand, wow, I knew Nikola Jokic was good, but Jamal Murray's starting to look an awful lot like Bubble Murray. You're seeing they added Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, really good defender. You've got Bruce Brown, really good perimeter defender. Those two guys have lifted their defensive profile. Aaron Gordon, kind of living up to everything we wanted to be as kind of that all-around forward that can handle a lot of different matchups. And Michael Porter Jr., healthy, is such an incredible scoring weapon that it really just is in a position where it is, hey, these guys are good and they're ready to go. And I think they're kind of relishing proving it to everybody.
Talking some NBA with Keith Smith from Spa Track. Keith, tonight a big game, Lakers versus Warriors. Obviously, here locally, we saw the Lakers up close. Have you been surprised, or were you surprised with what the Lakers did in Game 1 against the Warriors? And how must-win do you think this feels for the Warriors being? I mean, we saw them go down 2-0 last series, but that was the first 2 games on the road. They have the home court advantage.
Yeah, I think I was surprised. Not that the Lakers won, but the way they won behind Anthony Davis just being an absolute monster. I mean, the fact that they were like, hey, you go get it, and we're going to get it to you. And the Warriors just weren't able to do anything with him. They couldn't get him off his spot. I think you're going to see in Game 2 tonight, they're going to amp up the physicality because I think there's a couple things. They're going to say, you know what, they can't call them all. They're not going to call every foul. And we're at home. We are the Warriors. They're going to let us get away with some stuff. And I think you're going to see Anthony Davis probably get knocked down a few times. And I think they're going to make a real concerted effort to make sure he's not living in the pain, that they're pushing him off the block. And, hey, if we go down because he hits, 10 perimeter jumpers, so be it. That's fine. But we're not just going to let him dominate around the rim. So I thought that was good. I thought their defensive approach, especially in the second half, was pretty good. I thought they did a really good job of, you just got to make Stephen Curry work. You just can't make it easy on him. You're going to struggle to try to stop him, per se. But they did a nice job really staying attached to Klay Thompson. And they didn't get caught up in the blender. When the Warriors get you caught and you're cycling and you're chasing and all that stuff, that's what they want, because that's how they generate all those open looks across the board for all their different players.
Keith, I know you want to see off-season moves, whether it's free agency, in the draft, other things, maybe a trade. But here in Memphis, how far away do you think the Grizzlies are? Are we a million miles away? Is it a piece or two? Kind of to your admonition about windows, they can close a lot of times a lot more abruptly and quickly than people realize. How open is this window in Memphis?
It's pretty open, but to that point, it can be wide open and snap shut very quickly. Because what happens is, it sounds good to say, John Morant just maybe entering his kind of pre-prime year. Desmond Bane, not there yet. Jaren Jackson Jr. probably getting about there, into his prime years. Not saying, those prime years may last for the next 4 or 5 seasons, but you really look at it and say, man, we're set up pretty well. But all of a sudden, you have another flame out in the playoffs, and then somebody starts chirping. The team gets expensive, and then the next thing you know, that window you thought was going to be open for a decade lasted about 2.5 seasons, and now you're left kind of picking up the pieces. So I think for Memphis, I loved it from the exit interviews, the kind of mindset of, hey, we're going for it. We're going to really do what we have to do this summer. And I think they maybe realized they had a missed opportunity where, and I know they tried. We know they made offers for OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges. And I don't know what all they offered, because those reports are all over the place. But I think you may see this year maybe, all right, that one extra thing we weren't willing to put into a trade, we're willing to put that in now, because we got to make this happen. And I think you're going to see them come away with, I'm not going to say a superstar piece or even an all-star piece, but I have a feeling Memphis may make one of those trades where, like, oh, man, do I love that trade for the Grizzlies. They went out and got that guy who just fits perfectly around them, and then they just kind of go from there.
Well, I know here locally, the past couple of days, the biggest story has been the reports that the Grizzlies have said that under no circumstances will they bring Dillon Brooks back next year. And I think the biggest thing that a lot of people are talking about is the wording around it. I think a lot of people kind of assume maybe this would be a time to move off of Dillon Brooks, but it was the wording of under any circumstances that they won't bring him back. What did you think when you saw that news yesterday? And do you think it's the right time to part ways with Dillon Brooks?
Yeah, and a few thoughts that kind of flashed very quickly. The first one was like, okay, makes sense to me.
Yeah.
The next one was, yeah, but the under no circumstances part, it's real easy to say stuff at the end of April and beginning of, and it's a whole different thing to say those same things at the end of June, beginning of July. I think what they're doing to an extent, and now we're getting all conflicting reports of, hey, who put this out there, right? Because who does this benefit? That's what I always look at when we get a report. This doesn't really benefit anybody. This doesn't look good for anybody really in this situation. So I think what you kind of do is, as you look at this a little bit, is, all right, well, it doesn't really benefit anyone. So it's probably common sense, and it probably was something that was said, and then somebody who shouldn't have said something did. So now what I think you're going to see happen is, not bringing him back doesn't mean you can't make him a part of a sign and trade. And I've had a ton of people say, well, why would Dillon Brooks ever try to help this organization that's clearly trying to scapegoat him from all of, the failure of, falling out in the first round? Well, because if that's the way he can get $15 to $17 million in his first year of his next contract, that's why. That's why he gets out of there and gets the money to help, because the missed opportunity for the Grizzlies was probably trading him at the trade deadline as a big chunk of salary matching to go get another player. If they were going to, it was almost going to have to be him. And now you're kind of left with, all right, we don't really want him back. But boy, we don't really want to just watch him walk away for nothing and lose the salary slot. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see the approach they take moving forward. But This is why you kept all of your own draft picks. You have an extra couple picks coming in. You're in a spot where you can do some stuff if you want to make one of those big, impactful moves.
Keith, thank you so much as always for your time. We know you've got an obligation you've got to get to in a bit. We appreciate your time today, and we'll do it again next week. We'll have a lot more clarity in these series that all look very close right now. Somebody will have taken some advantages this time next week. Thank you, Keith.
Thanks, Keith.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
You got it very much. Keith Smith with us every week. You can follow him on Twitter at Keith Smith NBA, at Spot Track, and also at the Celtics blog. In the future, Bryant, when it gets down to maybe having to make a trade, the old saying, you got to give to get.
That's right.
Would we get down to one of the three big pieces, Josh Aaron, Desmond Bain, included in a deal? Because if you're going to get something back, you got to give up.
Yeah, I think I don't think so. I think it would depend on who that person is and what you have to give up for
then
them.
You're going to get a periphery piece then.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's the question is if you're letting Dylan walk, and now Keith did say that I guess there's still the possibility of including him in a sign-in trade, but if you just let him walk to free agency and he signs with another team, I mean, what do you really have to trade to get a kind of big-time player to go with those three? So I think you're exactly right. I mean, I remember last year and the year before when we were talking about some of these big players that could possibly come to Memphis, and the whole conversation was, well, if you trade for that guy, you might have to include Desmond Bain. Are you going to include him? And it just depends on the player, but you're right. I mean, outside of Dylan Brooks, what do you have to trade?
And at trade deadline time, I was part of what I dubbed camp run it out, camp sit still.
Yeah.
Let's see what we get out of this. At trade deadline next year in February of 24, where will we be and what will the Grizzlies have to offer if you're trying to add someone like Mikal Bridges or OG Anunoby or a name comparable to that? I mean, heck, Kelly Oubre can't be in every deal.
That's a good point. And I've seen a lot of people on social media, on Twitter, kind of point to, well, you have Tyus Jones that you can trade. But if you trade Tyus Jones, I mean, you have locked him down to be that backup to Ja, to be that player that Ja's not going to play 82 games every season. He can step in those games. That
they don't want to play that.
Exactly. And with his body type, his play type, he's not going to be able to go a full season, unfortunately, without an injury. And so to be able to have a guy like that who can step in, I think they value that a ton. And so I highly doubt you see Tyus Jones in any deal. So outside of that, I mean, there's not much to trade when you talk about all of these kind of dream scenarios like you kind of put out, the Mikal Bridges and the OG Anunobys and those caliber players. It's hard to go and get those players. They have plenty of draft picks. Sure, you can get that, but we saw what some of these star-level players went for the past couple of years in trades and deadline trades, and it was a lot more than I think what the Grizzlies have right now to trade.
And it's one of the many things that makes Keith Smith, our previous guest, so good. He knows how all that money matches up.
Yeah, no, again, a conversation me and Jay Morgan have a lot is, look, I don't know the whole, money deals with all these teams and how the contracts, how much money these contracts go for and everything. That's the other side of it. Keith Smith does a fantastic job breaking all of that down for not just certain teams, every single team, every single player. It really is. You go over to Spot Track, it is really impressive what they do over there.
It is. And the whole who leaked it, who gave it out, how much does that matter?
I don't know. I don't think in the grand scheme of things it matters very much. But it is interesting. I mean, it is because I think we kind of talked about this yesterday. I don't think Dylan Brooks benefits at all to that information.
No, it hadn't been a good 2 weeks for him.
It hadn't been a good 2 weeks for him at all. And so a lot of people were kind of pointing, this was Dylan's team that leaked this information. I don't think there's any chance that was Dylan that leaked that. This seemed to be from a Grizzlies side. Now, I don't know if it was the Grizzlies who put it out there or if it was somebody in the Grizzlies organization that put it out there kind of on his own, not really everybody involved going and saying, yeah, let's get this information out there. But I do think it could mean a little. I just don't know how much.
And he completely talked himself out of
He
town.
did.
You can understand why doing it, but also I've been very conflicted. I go back to kind of Monday, Brett, not defending him, just putting out there the fact 5,002 points, ninth leading scorer in Grizzlies history, and that's never as easy as it looks to just presto changeo replace.
Yeah.
But then the 2 weeks before that and the talk and just and not that this is that big, but not making himself available to stand up to it after doing all that talking and not being there for various media availabilities. But he did show on getaway day.
Yeah, and I think the biggest...
And made it worse.
He did. You're absolutely right. But I think for me at least, the way I sit on it is I think I can acknowledge that maybe it is time to move on from Dillon Brooks. Maybe that is the way to go. But at the same time, I don't think my problem is the talk around it of we don't need him. He was terrible with us. He couldn't shoot the ball. He shot too much. Yada yada yada. I don't like all that. Just insulting him. I don't like all of that when he's played, like you said, such a big, valuable role on this team. And I think a lot of people are forgetting this wasn't a top 10 pick. This wasn't the number 2 overall pick, the number 4 overall pick. This was a second-round pick that came in, didn't know if he was even going to earn a spot on this team, playing spot minutes in a rotation when he first got here, and then becoming a every single game starter and really a massive part of this team. I just hate the way people, the kind of the dialogue that's been said around him. I get it, like you said, talking a lot, that definitely puts people off a little bit. But I don't think you can just look into a lens of 2 weeks and kind of determine everything you need to know about Dillon Brooks.
And you mentioned that's a great point about him being in that second round for a franchise. Now, look, it's never easy to make it work in the second round. And the ones that do, I mean, we can cite them all. I mean, we know, and you dream of, gosh, this guy went 46, and, we had 3 picks before that. If we could just have all those guys, it doesn't work that way. A franchise that historically, we never had hardly any luck with second rounders, and often not a lot of luck with first rounders.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Dillon Brooks, you could probably make a great argument that he's the greatest second round pick in Grizzlies franchise history.
Ooh, that's good. Now, didn't Mark go that late?
I don't.
Didn't Mark go like 44th or so?
Mark Gasol?
I think so.
Well, that would have been a.
But that was Lakers. That's
Lakers
right. That wouldn't have been Grizzlies.
That wouldn't have been a Grizzly pick.
That's right. That is correct.
So I think it would. I mean, look again. Mark Gasol went 48th overall pick in the second round in 2007.
But you're right. 2 Lakers. So
right. So different there, but I mean, I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at all the draft picks, but he's certainly up there, if not the best. He's top 2 or top 3.
That's not a bad weekend project for this weekend, is it?
It might have
the
been
Grizzlies
my weekend project.
all second round team.
That's great.
But that's really fragile out there, and the ones that don't work are always compared to Draymond Green.
Yeah.
I mean, come on now. Is that fair to compare every second round miss to Draymond Green, who's going to the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, it's not fair at all. I mean, and that happens in every single sport where you look at a player that got overlooked or for whatever reason didn't get drafted high and then becomes.
I did it last week to the Rams and the Titans.
You did,
or the Rams rather with Lawrence Phillips instead of Eddie George.
That's right, and so. I mean, that's just great players. I mean, Tom Brady. You go back and look at that. Are you gonna look at every single player drafted in front of him and go, what were these teams thinking? Tom Brady was right here. Yeah, I mean, it happens everywhere. I hate it, but it happens.
Brian, I think the Cardinals took Randall Grichuk either right before the Angels got Trout or after.
Oh man,
it was way too close to the same neighborhood.
Well, maybe we can make an exception there, but that might just be because of how mad I am at the Cardinals right now.
Yeah, and there's plenty of agitation there. A friend of mine just texted me to my text line, not to 901-360-8255.
The personal text line.
That's kind of mine, too, but that one's ours. This one's mine that I pay for. Dr. Flynn pays for 901. He goes, I can't believe you haven't violated your blowing up on baseball with all this. No, I'm really I'm really better than I thought I would be because, Brian, I almost feel like I hold some blame in this for the Cardinals because whomever I made the deal with, baseball, small God, or the deal with the baseball devil, DEVIL, whatever deal I made in those late innings of Game 6 of the 2011 World Series, I know I was promising firstborn, any inheritance, anything, good Lord, get me out of this one, let the Cardinals win it, and I'll never ask for another thing. And I stayed contented for a really long time if I'm not still contented by being there that night in 2011. So that's why I haven't gone crazy yet.
Well, they say the Lord works in mysterious ways. Maybe the baseball lords and devils work in also mysterious ways, because that would be something if they've waited all this time to where the Cardinals have put together a team that could compete at the highest level to then make them the worst team in baseball. That's poetic.
And last night, the booing, I've never heard it at New Busch Stadium like that.
Never.
I did hear it at Old Busch Stadium for a couple of individual players. Gary Templeton, most notably, as I mentioned the other day, after he flipped the crowd off and Whitey Herzog slung him into a figure 4 leg lock in the dugout. He got it, and the frustration after the Keith Hernandez trade, there was a lot of people that would be angry at Neil Allen, but it wasn't overwhelming. It was not like last night on a slow Wednesday night in St. Louis to have that kind of booing at the end of the game, to walk off boos.
Yeah, it's sad. I mean, the times are dire in St. Louis right now.
And just so many people, just haven't had to go through this. And I talked, wasn't very good in 07, but, it was allayed by having just won it in 06. You go back to a bad team or two in the late 90s, but Tony La Russa's first team in 96 was, right there in the NLCS, and then got Mark McGuire and had the summer of love. So that kind of covered up everything. The closest thing to this frustrating and it does not feel as hopeless as it did at the end of Whitey Herzog, and that was having to say goodbye to Whitey Herzog.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't being mad at Ollie Marmol.
Right. Yeah. It's different this year, and it's I don't know.
And it's early.
It's extremely early, like you said. I don't think you've ever had to talk about this team the way you've had to do this year this early, but it's where we're at.
And it may be the summer that we pile on the Cardinals. A lot of people
Love
out
it.
there going, y'all don't ever rip them. Well, stay tuned this summer.
Yeah. Keep it locked in.
You may get your wish. Brett Norsworthy here for FanDuel, the NBA playoffs. They're here, and you can turn crossovers into cash with FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com/sports56. That's the promo code I want you to use. It's very important right now. And place a $5 bet, and you'll get an instant $150 back in bonus bets, win or lose. Great promotions every day. Safe and secure app. And when you win, you get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet all the playoff action than America's #1 sports book. And tonight in Lakers-Warriors, I like the under. I like the game to go under the posted total. Just go to FanDuel.com/sports56 and sign up to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet your first $5. I got there last night with the Celtics. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA, must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions do apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. Our number is 901-360-8255. Throwing a lot of numbers at you there, haven't I? Between the Red Line and our text line and our phone number, but you can call us on what we've been discussing today, and we come back kind of the downside of a lot of things in sports right now. Of course, I just did a FanDuel spot proudly, unabashedly. But right now, with what Alabama baseball, what they're going through, and I talked about it the other day, and many have as well, about we're going to have these kind of issues. We talk about that next. You're listening to Sports Time.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch has an offer you can't refuse. They will pay you to do business with them if you want luxury. And I'm talking the Genesis G70 car. If you would love to have that kind of new technology, they will give you a $1,000 rebate when you finance with Genesis Motor Finance. In other words, they'll pay you $1,000 to do business with them, and you get brand new luxury. You can't beat it. That's Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis, right at the corner of Craft Road and Highway 78 in Olive Branch. Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch, where customer retention is amazing. There's a reason. They take care of you with a team that's been together for a long time. Whether it's finance or whether it's service, you can't beat them. Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis.
TireRack.com, fast, free shipping, free road hazard protection, mobile installation. They test tires. They got their own test track where they push tires to the limit. Great traction and a comfortable ride? Use the results to make an informed choice. They sell only the best, like the full line of Continental tires. Go to TireRack.com/Colin. See for yourself. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.
Chris Price, it's so good to see you. And you have a new business?
Yes, Dave. MetroBuildersMemphis.com. Have you noticed water stains on your ceiling? With storm season here, take a walk around your home or business and look up. Make sure there are no water stains signaling a leak prior to the heavy storms coming in. If you do see signs of water, call me. My team and I will come out, diagnose the problem, and prescribe a fix. Our team of Hague-certified inspectors are waiting to assist with any inspection or repairs you may need. We have 3 crews dedicated to repairing roofs in the Mid-South. As certified Owens Corning and Mule High dealers, we offer 20-year, no dollar limit labor and material warranties that offer hassle-free ownership. That's our hassle-free ownership guarantee. Allow Metro Builders team of professionals to assist you in maintaining your property's integrity and value. MetroBuildersMemphis.com. Your local commercial roof experts. Ask about our commercial roof maintenance agreements. Protect your investment with MetroBuildersMemphis.com. Call me, 901-375-1717. That's 901-375-1717. 375-1717.
Do you want to know what's trending now? You can defer payments of a full NetSuite implementation for 6 months. No payments and no interest for 6 months. This is a big deal. NetSuite by Oracle has never made an offer like this in its 22 years as the leading cloud financial system. 33,000 companies have already upgraded to NetSuite, gaining visibility and control over their financials, inventory, HR, e-commerce, and more. Everything they need to reduce manual processes, boost efficiency, build forecasts, and increase productivity across every department. In fact, almost 90% of finance leaders agree that NetSuite helps them reduce manual data entry time. Whether your business generates millions or hundreds of millions of dollars, take advantage of this special financing offer of no payments or interest for 6 months at netsuite.com/play. That's netsuite.com/play. netsuite.com/play.
Did you know nearly 40% of men under 40 and over 75% of men over the age of 40 experience sexual performance concerns? At the Memphis Men's Clinic, their experienced physician performs a comprehensive evaluation that determines which specific issues may interfere with your sexual performance. These issues can vary and range from anxiety to medical issues, low testosterone, or erectile dysfunction. The Memphis Men's Clinic has evaluated hundreds of men of all ages over the years and reestablished a normal sexual life. The Memphis Men's Clinic will work aggressively to resolve issues and allow you to restore your sexual health and overall well-being. That's the Memphis way. If you're 20 years old or 90 years old, come and get cared for the Memphis way. Treatment that's based on your specific needs after a professional clinical evaluation by their experienced board-certified physician. Call the Memphis Men's Clinic today at 901-443-0475 or visit memphismensclinic.com.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Big number of the day, Greg Gaston at 5 o'clock and Taco Bell Crunch Time about 5:20 still on the way for us, Bryant Dacus and Brett Norsworthy, and Sports Time with you until about 5:30 before we give it to David Kellerman, Brad Henderson in Columbia, Missouri for Ole Miss and Mizzou baseball. And I forgot when we were talking baseball earlier, Bryant, over the next 15 Fridays, starting tomorrow at 3:45, over the next 15 Fridays, the summertime kind of Friday, 15 Fridays that we're getting ready to have. I want you to give me a team right now from the American League and the National League. Give me an AL and NL team, any team.
You want me to do it right now?
Just name a team.
Okay. AL, the Rangers. NL, let's go the Reds. Why not?
Very good. Tomorrow at 3:45, I want kind of our football version of Big Four, Top Four, Mount Rushmore, whatever it is, for the Rangers and for the Reds tomorrow at 3:45. And I also want, I want you to give me their Big Four right now.
Oh, this is beautiful, Brett. I love this.
Big Four, Rangers and Reds. And that's unbelievable you said Reds. You know what inspired it? By any chance? No, you were busy working, doing your Jerry Lewis marathon of radio this week. Today on Chris Russo's High Heat show on MLB Network, he had a great interview with Johnny Bench. And I was thinking of Johnny Bench and the Big Red Machine, and I think he clearly is the greatest Red of all time. And if he's not, Pete Rose is. And also Saturday, I don't know if you know this or not, and the reason why Johnny Bench was on with Chris Russo is Saturday, the christening of an aircraft carrier. Have you heard?
What?
An aircraft carrier being christened Saturday, and it will be the USS Cooperstown in honor of the Baseball Hall of Fame. It was commissioned in 2015 by then Secretary of the Navy, former Governor of Mississippi, Ray Mabus, and it is finally being put out to sea. It will be operable and christened on Saturday by the President of the United States, and it will be named the USS Cooperstown.
That's awesome.
And I'm watching, I'm thinking, is Pete Rose barred from it too?
Ooh, touchy subject there, maybe. I mean,
can Pete Rose pull for the USS Cooperstown out at sea?
I think anything named Cooperstown, they got to all abide by the same rules, you know?
We'll do Rangers, Reds tomorrow at 3:45, college baseball. A story that I didn't think was going to be a one-day story, but I didn't think it was going to lead to this. It has now led to a firing at Alabama, and what a sports year for Greg Byrne at the University of Alabama. Football, by their lofty standards, didn't go quite as well as normal. They did, oh, heaven forbid, they lost 2 games and won a Sugar Bowl, and they're sad over it. But only at Alabama, and then basketball, no joking at all about this. The case where at minimum one player still in jail awaiting trial for being a part of a person losing their life, and a star player being implicated way too closely around that. And now comes springtime, the baseball coach, he's out over gambling. And it stems from the Ohio Gaming Commission first being alerted to it. Now, a lot of people I've talked to today in Alabama media with a lot better handle on this than I would ever have, they think a lot of this is being able to get rid of him now and get out from under any buyout. But is Bama sweating money that bad to do a man like that if he may not be that guilty?
Well, maybe not, but I think that's just how the world operates, and I think because I saw the same thing, and this is a team, Alabama is, that came in the season with a lot of high expectations.
Barely missed out last year. Mm-hmm. You could argue last year Ole Miss got the bid Bama probably should have gotten.
You really
and then they win it all with.
Yeah, and so a lot of expectations coming into the season. A good record overall, I think about 30-15 this season, but under 500 in SEC play, so it really hasn't done in conference. And you know, Brett, especially in the SEC, you got to win those conference games no matter what the sport is. You could go undefeated in non-conference and lose lose a couple conference games, and you'll be on the hot seat. So I do think that he was probably going to be out at the end of the season, and this just gave them an opportunity to kind of, like you said, jump over some hurdles.
We don't do a lot of college baseball really until the NCAA tournament, the first weekend, then the Super Regionals, and as it advances, and it's more of a local story, like it always seems like it is between Ole Miss last year, State 2 years ago, Arkansas always in the mix of things. We don't do a lot of college baseball until we get about to this point of the year, honestly, and quite candidly. I will say this. With Texas and OU coming into the SEC, you're not going to see these guys hang around forever and be managers, be the coaches at play. They don't call them managers in college baseball, but not be the coaches. You're not going to see Skip Bertman hang around. Well, he's not there anymore, but that kind of run, a Ray Tanner run, a Ron Polk run, a Mike Bianco run. You're not going to see it because with the money that it's now making, the pressure that the fans at most of the places, most, not all, that they put on the coach. Brian, I even heard grumbling last Saturday at Oxford. Not overwhelming, not a cacophony, but more than I thought. And my standard answer was, you give me a dog pile in the middle of the infield at Omaha and then take the next year off, I'm fine by it every year. I mean, this was for a guy last year that won it all, and it was not anywhere near a majority, but some more than I thought he would get this year. But it was some. I think you'll see a guy like Dave Van Horn at Arkansas that's been there forever. Arkansas with only 2 baseball coaches since 1972.
It's unbelievable.
You're not going to see much of that.
No, you just can't. With the amount of teams and how good these teams are. I mean, you look up and down. We're talking about an Alabama team that just fired their coach that is under 500 in conference play and has won 30 games this season. I mean, it's just how good this conference is. And what I find interesting, because I'm like you, I've heard those same rumblings. Now, you heard them closer. You were at a game this weekend, so you obviously heard them from Ole Miss fans. I've also heard them from friends and people online that it might be time to move on from them, which is like you said, it's crazy to think. But it's just the way this conference is now with how competitive it is. Now, I was reading some more about this story today after the firing, and we kind of talked yesterday. We were kind of learning all the news about this mid-conversation about it because they were doing a piece on it on SportsCenter yesterday afternoon, and we had it on the TV. But it said that the 2 bets were from Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, and that's what all started in Ohio. But also, I read earlier, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Louisiana all shut down bets on Alabama during that time. So it wasn't just one state. It was 4 states at least.
Man, when you scared New Jersey and Louisiana, it's something to be scared of.
They don't scare easily.
No, they don't. I mean, when you've passed or haven't passed the smell test, or however it is in those 2 states, because they can kind of endure a lot. So the bet at the brick and mortar sports book at Great American. Now think of the irony here. An actual brick and mortar sports book at Great American Park in Cincinnati, a fabulous place, and the Reds Hall of Fame adjacent to it, fabulous. Very close to where Pete Rose played.
Yeah, very
close. And that is now cost a man his job in college baseball and more to come.
Yeah, and I'm just still so confused about the whole thing because when the bets were placed, LSU was up 8-1.
Was it Pete Rose betting?
Oh, Brett, we're talking a lot of Pete Rose today.
He's in Vegas.
But it's interesting because it was 8-1 when they shut everything down, and both the bets were on LSU to win the game at minus 245. So I know there's probably a lot more to this story that I just don't know.
Gotta be.
But I just don't understand. I've included bets that are minus 245 in parlays, and I just don't understand where does Alabama come into play in a game that someone bet against them at minus 240. I would understand if it was the other way around. Alabama's up 8-1, and someone goes and bets at plus 600 for LSU to come back and win, and LSU they come back and win. Now, that's a completely different story. I'm just still very lost on how Alabama comes into play.
And everywhere you turn in this story, it's rich with irony, and I don't want to say the wrong thing. I will say what I was getting ready to say, but I would never mean it like this. I was about to say, but it's too, with the Alabama situation, I'm not going to say it. I just wonder what the evidence was that pushed Greg Byrne over the top. Because, I mean, we've had the basketball issue.
Yep. Sure have.
So what was the evidence presented to him that he had to make a change immediately?
It had to be something. I mean, it's got to be something that we don't know yet that will come out later. But you're right. I mean,
incredible.
You can't have what happened in basketball. I think even if you were planning on firing this guy at the end of the season, I don't think you can have what happened at basketball and say, oh, wrong place, wrong time. It's all right. We're just going to move on from this, and then something like this immediately fire the head coach.
Yeah, it is a stunning story. This week and next, two of my favorites. Tomorrow. I think we might go over the Memphis in May lineup and see how few of the acts I've ever heard of, and how many maybe that you and Jay Morgan have heard of. And I know next week is Barbecue Fest, and I want everybody to have such a great time down on the river enjoying both of those. But it's Barbecue Fest year around here because of all our great places, and I know two that stand out: the new Collierville Commissary, Houston Levy and Poplar, or the original in Germantown. Back to the early 80s for the original in Germantown. 1981, Walker Taylor took a big career chance and threw everything he has into it, and he's made it work. And I was there on Tuesday with a good friend of mine, eating and visiting with Walker and seeing how busy they are and they were and they always are, and just thinking of what all he has accomplished. And he always tells me, Brett, thank everybody, tell them how much I appreciate them, and he does, and I hope I do it well enough. It's perfect for a big group. It's perfect tonight to get outside on the patio at Houston Levy and Poplar. That Memphis style barbecue and ribs done the Memphis way, the slow cooked way. If you're craving an easier way to order, text commissary right now to 33733 for dinner time. 33733. You can text commissary and you'll be all set. The barbecue nachos, tamales, a cheese plate, all the appetizers, smoked chicken wings. Start with those and then build to that Memphis style barbecue. The ribs, the shoulder, chopped or pulled on a plate, on a sandwich, all the sides, deviled eggs, beans, slaw, bread as well. You can order it by the pound or a 6-pack or an 8-pack or a 12-pack. And all those desserts like the lemon icebox pie, the strawberry cake, the banana pudding, the pecan pie, more towards seasonal time of year for the pecan pie, but they have the rest of them all the time. And you can order whole cakes and whole pies. 901-754-5540. Online at commissarybbq.com in Collierville and Germantown. The party areas, orders to go, catering, football time, the tailgating next week for Mom. The perfect place, either the new Collierville Commissary at Houston Levy and Poplar or the original in Germantown. When we come back, big number of the day.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
I'm with John Burgos from the world-famous Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948.
Brett, we have catered parties all over this country and all over the world, from Singapore, Australia to Central Park and New York, but many people don't realize how much we do locally. For holiday events, office parties, tailgating, birthday parties, you can't do better than the Rendezvous. For example, you can get a cheese and sausage tray for 15 to 300 people for $3.75 a person. You can even build your own nacho bar for $10.50 per person. All you need is a minimum of 15 people. In many cases, we can arrange delivery and full-service catering. We've even made it easy to get to-go items. You can just park at our front door in the alley, put on your flashes, and we'll get you going ASAP. For all your catering items and prices, go to hogsfly.com, click on menu, and drop down to catering.
Thank you, John. The Rendezvous, Mr. Charlie Burgos' Rendezvous in the alley since 1948 and celebrating its 75th year.
I have so many people tell me they hear my ads on this station and that they want to know if I'm really as bad a golfer as everyone says. This is Sheldon Rosengarten with Marks Bensdorf Realtors, and yes, I hate to say I am. I wish I were in my 90s because I could then tell people I shoot my age. But being a bad golfer is not terrible because I devote so much of my time to selling homes to keep my clients happy. Over the many years in the real estate business, I developed a highly successful strategic marketing program, not merely a listing program. Using preparation, presentation, and proper pricing, it works. If you're thinking of selling, talk to 2 to 3 real estate brokers and make sure that I am one of them. Find out why people often say that when you want the job done, call Shell Dunn. That's Shell Dunn Rosengarten, 483-0546 or memphisrelocate.com. Do it now. Shell Dunn, 483-0546 or memphisrelocate.com.
Hi, my name is Dawn Grader, the CEO of Southern Security, your home team credit union. For almost 70 years, Southern Security has been serving the Mid-South community with unbeatable rates, low fees, service, and technology. Are you a business owner in need of an auto loan? Need better benefits with your credit card? At Southern Security, we can handle all your business banking needs, provide low competitive rates, and give you better benefits on your credit card and much, much more. To find out how you can join the Southern Security family, call 901-452-7900 to talk to one of our team members. Or you can visit our website at southernsecurity.org. Southern Security is a proud sponsor of the University of Memphis Athletic Department. Southern Security, your home team credit union.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Brian Elder Roofing, 867-0303. You've known the name for 30 years. You might even remember him from nearly 20 years on Kix 106 as half of the Young and Elder Show. Now, 13 years later, Brian Elder is the largest purchaser of Owens Corning shingles in Memphis. Call him right now, 867-0303. Certified and trained by Owens Corning to earn a reputation for quality and expertise matched by no one. Don't let them tell you it has to be replaced when all it needs is a repair. Call right now, 867-0303. He'll climb every inch of your roof. He'll go into your attic and run a moisture and ventilation test using state-of-the-art equipment to make certain you're protected from mold and other contaminants. You may be causing respiratory problems for your family and not even know it. We're waiting for your call, 867-0303 or brianelderroofing.com.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Temperatures are on the rise. Make sure you beat the heat this summer by scheduling your $69 air conditioning tune-up now with Conway Services. An annual AC tune-up can save you money and help prevent costly breakdowns during the hottest months of the year. Visit conwayservices.com for details, terms, and conditions. License number 64210, 64365 EAS, MS 19688.
Call 384-3511. Conway Services. Call Conway today.
The Showboats are back in Memphis.
We can't wait to have you for the USFL.
Let's go.
Get your seats now for this weekend's home game.
Here we go.
Be a part of the new era of pro football at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium as the Showboats seek to reclaim their USFL legacy. Tickets start at just $10, so bring the whole family. And don't miss the Showboats' exciting matchup.
It's a touchdown.
Buy your tickets today at theusfl.com.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Breaking news before we get to big number of the day. Mike Budenholzer fired as head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. That news just tweeted out by Woj. the official NBA clearance of all news. If he's not Shams, he is. Mike Budenholzer out after winning a title there, but coming up, really, really short the last 2 years. That officially makes Taylor Jenkins right now sixth in the NBA in current head coaching seniority. Greg Popovich 1, he's got a title. Eric Spoelstra 2, he's got titles. Steve Kerr 3 titles. 4, Mike Malone. 5, Monty Williams. And 6, Taylor Jenkins. Very good chance either Monty Williams or Mike Malone get one this year.
Mm-hmm.
So then, and Monty Williams already been to an NBA Finals. You could have Taylor Jenkins being the 6th in seniority without ever having been to a Western Conference Finals, NBA Finals, or having won one.
That's insane. I mean, that to think that you can go that long without getting to that is I don't know if that's more credit to what Taylor Jenkins has done or if it's credit to all of these other coaches getting either fired or retiring.
Bud hired May 18th, 2018. Taylor Jenkins hired June 11th, 2019. It's time for our big number of the day.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand. It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
So I'll start. My big number of the day, is 4. I was going to go with this yesterday, but I decided to save it till today because the Lakers will play again tonight against the Warriors. And I talked earlier about how big I think Anthony Davis will be throughout this series. Well, in Game 1 the other night, Anthony Davis finished with 30 points, 20 rebounds, and 5 assists. He is only the 4th player in Lakers playoff history to have a stat line of 30, 20, and 5. He joins Wilt Chamberlain, Elgin Baylor, and Shaquille O'Neal. I'll tell you what, that is a good group to join.
Yeah, it's a list to always be associated with. Yeah. It usually means going to the Basketball Hall of Fame. My big number, I don't really like decimal points. Should I round up or use the point?
Let's round up. Why not?
We'll go to 68% then. 68% of the time in Major League Baseball. First heard it mentioned this morning by Billy Ripken early this morning on MLB Network. He said 60%, and I didn't think that was right, so I hit the Google machine and found out that it's really 68. 68% of the time, the team that scores first in Major League Baseball games, they win the game.
Wow.
It's not really a comeback sport.
That's incredible. I wouldn't have thought it was that high.
I wouldn't have either. Wouldn't you have thought it'd been around 55, 45 or so?
Yeah, I mean,
just a nudge over.
Yeah, just how quick
50.
some teams score, and with everything that can happen after one inning, that's hard to believe.
We're getting in a little bit of a time crunch with a lot of breaking news. Now, this tweet from Brandon Zimmerman, he says, sources tell ESPN's David Purdom, he's the in-house kind of gambling aficionado at ESPN, that sportsbook surveillance video indicated the person who placed the bets was communicating with the Alabama coach at the time.
Yeah, that doesn't look good. It sounds like this person he was on the phone with the head coach, and the head coach told him, "Hey, we're scratching so and so. This other pitcher's starting. He hasn't pitched since March, I think is what they said. So not good." I thought originally that they said it was an in-game bet, but that would lead me to believe it wasn't an in-game bet, which definitely changes my mind, because we did have a texter earlier that said the Bama starting pitcher was scratched an hour before the game, but I always thought it was an in-game bet, and so that wouldn't have mattered if it was, but this makes it sound like it was before the game. Maybe the wording was just a little confusing in that initial report. That's definitely not good.
We're going to break now. When we come back, start the third and final hour that will be abbreviated because of Ole Miss baseball. We do it with Greg Gasson. We do it Talking Tigers. That's next on Sports Time.
Are you looking to lease a commercial space for your business? Call Stephen Hoffman. Are you a landlord looking to have your space leased? Call Stephen Hoffman. Maybe you're looking to buy or sell commercial real estate. If so, you want a professional broker looking out for your best interest, and that broker is Stephen Hoffman with Myers Commercial Real Estate. Stephen is a Memphis native who knows his market well and only works the commercial side of real estate. He works for a great firm that has been locally owned and operated in Memphis for almost 40 years. Whether representing tenants, landlords, or investors alike, you are sure to get great market analysis, access to on and off market listings, and a tough negotiator on your behalf. Call 901-761-5595 and ask for Stephen Hoffman. You can also find him on the web at myerscre.com. That's MYERSCRE.com. Stephen Hoffman with Myers Commercial Real Estate. Representing your real estate business is his business. Call Stephen Hoffman, 901-761-5595.
1 in 4 car batteries is weak and needs to be replaced. Let our professional parts people test your battery for free at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Chris Price, it's so good to see you. And you have a new business?
Yes, Dave. MetroBuildersMemphis.com. Have you noticed water stains on your ceiling? With storm season here, take a walk around your home or business and look up. Make sure there are no water stains signaling a leak prior to the heavy storms coming in. If you do see signs of water, call me. My team and I will come out, diagnose the problem, and prescribe a fix. Our team of Hague-certified inspectors are waiting to assist with any inspection or repairs you may need. We have 3 crews dedicated to repairing roofs in the Mid-South. As certified Owens Corning and Mule High dealers, we offer 20-year, no-dollar limit labor and material warranties that offer hassle-free ownership. That's our hassle-free ownership guarantee. Allow Metro Builders team of professionals to assist you in maintaining your property's integrity and value. MetroBuildersMemphis.com. Your local commercial roof experts. Ask about our commercial roof maintenance agreements. Protect your investment with MetroBuildersMemphis.com. Call me, 901-375-1717. That's 901-375-1717. 375-1717.
It's Wrangler season out there. Warmer days, cooler nights. Open roads, endless horizons. And you need to be ready in jeans made for the unpredictable. Wrangler, for the ride of life. Shop our newest styles today at Wrangler.com.
Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch has an offer you can't refuse. They will pay you to do business with them if you want luxury. And I'm talking the Genesis G70 car. If you would love to have that kind of new technology, they will give you a $1,000 rebate when you finance with Genesis Motor Finance. In other words, they'll pay you $1,000 to do business with them, and you get brand new luxury. You can't beat it. That's Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis, right at the corner of Craft Road and Highway 78 in Olive Branch. Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch, where customer retention is amazing. There's a reason. They take care of you with a team that's been together for a long time. Whether it's finance or whether it's service, you can't beat them. Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here are your hosts, Brett Stats Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Every week we are very fortunate to have Greg Gaston join us and talk all things Tigers from the Tigers sideline, his duties during college football season on the sideline for the Tigers, and his handle on University of Memphis athletics. You can hear Greg every single morning on this station from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with Eli Savoy, but he is one of the cornerstones of Memphis sports broadcasting, and it's why we are fortunate to have Greg with us every Thursday afternoon, and he's brought to you by the law offices of Stephen Leffler, Mount Moriah Auto Sales, Chet Whitsett, your Cry-Like Realtor, and Neil's Bar and Grill. Good afternoon, Greg.
Good afternoon, guys. How's everything going?
Going well, going very well. So the portal is really swinging pretty wildly right now around college sports. Last night, the Tigers may be disappointed with one they didn't get, but tell us about the one they did get.
Yeah, so Jalen Young was a starter early in the season for UCF. Then all of a sudden he didn't start. But when he started, they won games, so he had success there. And I'm not sure why it was that he didn't start the bulk of the games. Shot pretty well from three-point range in about that 34-35% range, made his free throws when he got to the line. He's a quick, athletic guard, and he's a solid player. But, again, it's another one of the guys from the American Conference going and looking for greener pastures within the conference, going to play for Penny and Memphis. Nothing wrong with that. But the guy you alluded to that
worked last year.
It worked last year. When you get the top transfer in the portal in the country, it works. But I wouldn't put Jalen Young in that category. Now, the guy they didn't get was Jaden Bradley, and that's the guy from Alabama who was a freshman last year. And he's got ways to go, but his potential is really high. The ceiling's really high for this kid. So that's why there are some people disappointed because they thought Memphis was going to be able to land Bradley, who ends up going to Arizona. I think that kid has a lot of potential to be a really good player in college basketball, and maybe he'll turn out to be that way at Arizona, but you never know. I'm sure Penny and the staff is very happy getting Jalen Young. They needed to get a point guard. They need to address that. Now, when the conversation had come out about Bradley, about Young, and some of these other point guards they were looking at, Young was brought up as a backup point guard. Whether or not he'll be a starter is yet to be seen. But it's not really a settle. I know Bradley was probably at the top of the list. He decides to go somewhere else. More than likely got a better NIL opportunity, let's be honest here. But Jalen Young is a nice consolation prize. But it is one more step, Brett, and there's got to be another 2-3 steps that need to be made. This team right now on paper doesn't look to me to be a great team, doesn't look to even be maybe a tournament team. But certainly when they get together and they find chemistry, they find unity, they're coached up by Penny and his staff, they're going to get much better. But he still needs to go out there, find a big, which he's trying to do, maybe even a little more shooting help. And I'm not sure if he's going to try to get another point guard, but I could easily see them trying to get 2 or 3 more players. When they get them is a big question.
With Jaden Bradley, and you just kind of pointed out, maybe got a better NIL deal at Arizona. After he came on an official visit, I think a lot of the conversation around him was he really likes Memphis and maybe even wants to be a Tiger, but got to get some things right financially, if you know what I'm saying. Is missing out on him more of a reflection of him wanting to be an Arizona Wildcat, or is it a reflection on the NIL situation at Memphis?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know him well enough to really answer that question knowingly, but I do have an opinion on that. And I believe that in this day and age, and it's understandable with these student athletes, it is understandable that they're trying to cash in on their name, image, and likeness. It's a legal thing. I'm guessing that he loved Memphis, like you said. Everything worked out well. That's why the stories were out there that it looked like Bradley may end up going to play for Memphis. But I think when push came to shove, here comes Arizona. They can offer more money. They're a Power 5 conference. They have a lot of history, and they were able to sway Bradley to go there. I think it simply came down, and this is my estimation, simply came down to a more lucrative NIL offer.
And, Greg, money talks out there, and we wanted this player liberation. We wanted this player freedom. Yeah. We knew, and a lot of people, whether inside or outside, we knew for a long time that this is no way this can be right, that coach can leave in a split second for another place for a lot more money, and the money being raked in, the profits, windfall profits across college athletics, and them not get anything other than the standard books, tuition, things like that. We wanted that. But, Greg, the sustainability of this, because I'm hearing SEC places talking about it's so hard to compete with some of the other members of the SEC. The Tigers have maybe having some issues with anybody in SEC or anybody in the Pac-12, anybody in kind of the power grouping of college sports. And also this, Greg, when those other places that may be on a little more of a budget than some others, when they have a big expenditure for one, the chemistry issue, how it's so rocked by one getting most of the dough and the rest of them not getting as much.
Absolutely. There's no question about it. It could cause issues with chemistry with the team. This kid's getting this much money and other guys only getting a little bit. Certainly it's an arms race. There is no question about it. And like you said, with the SEC, there are levels in the SEC. It's not everybody has the same amount of money. Now, compare it to schools that are not in the Power Fives, again, the so-called Power Five, I'll use that terminology, they're not going to have that kind of collateral. And if you are able to get that, then certainly you're going to have the jump on anybody else. And Memphis is in that battle right now. Now, I think when it comes out to, let's say it's even Steven, the tiebreaker, Penny Hardaway's going to win a lot of battles because
he will.
You want to play for Penny Hardaway. You want to play for a guy who has been there and has done that. And Memphis certainly has a tradition. They haven't won a national championship, but they have been close several times. So we know the tradition.
It's a really good brand.
Yeah, so I think all even, Brett, a lot of times Memphis will win that battle. But there's no question this is coming down to the money and what they can offer as opposed to some of these other programs that are in power conferences. I don't even want to say big-time programs. Of course, the Kansases, the Kentuckys, the Carolinas, the Dukes, they're always going to get their guys. But I'm talking about programs that just happen to be in a Power 5 conference that do not have the history that Memphis has, but they have the money, and that money will speak.
And Greg, the battles within the university community at a lot of places right now, well, we've age old in the athletics department. Football kind of battling with basketball, and baseball. Hey, what about us? And Olympic spring sports, other things. What about us? That's been age old. That will continue. But you're also getting this. You're getting like the foundation at various places, Tiger Scholarship Fund at places, or Loyalty Foundation at Ole Miss, Tide Pride at Bama, the Razorback support group, all the different support groups. They're now battling with the collective, and they're also battling like with a donation to the library or to the business school or to the alumni association. You've got a lot of infighting at a lot of places because it's just a finite pool of money.
That's a great point, right? You're basically asking the same people, the same companies to go back to the well. How many times can they go back to the well before it's dry? So certainly you're going to have guys and gals that are going to give money because they want to give to the athletic department as a whole. But there are others that want to give to the possibility of whatever it may be. It's South Campus, right? They're going to eventually, they got a 10-year plan that Lear Beach put together that'll eventually have dorms over there and other amenities and things of that nature. Where's that money coming from? Well, that's the battle because that money is not going to NIL. It's going to that. Where are you getting that money from? Whom are you getting that money from, or who are you getting that money from? There's no question that internally there's a battle going on with those same people that you are asking time in and time again for money. You can only go so much. You can only, you can spread them only so thin before it's, hey, we don't have any more.
And Greg, and you can feel it, and I'm hearing stories from a lot of places, not just SEC and not just Ole Miss, not just the Tigers, from a lot of places, that when they make that pitch, that person, he or she, whatever they've done to amass that kind of money and be good givers and lovers of said institution, they go, okay, let me get this right. This is not for the business department. This is not for the music department. This is for one tailback.
Right, exactly. And again, do they want to give? If they want to give to the athletic department, which many do, what are they giving it to? We know what Bill Lurie gave his money for, right, with that beautiful basketball facility. Well, now NIL battles, are they going to go back and say, and I'm just using Bill as an example, but Bill, do you have the money to give for us for the collectives, right? And these are the collectives, obviously, doing that, to have that money available for player A or player B. So, yeah, it's a battle of trying to find the donors to give money to, one, the university. Where are they giving it to? Are they giving it to the music department? Are they giving it to somewhere else? Are they giving it to the business department? Are they giving it to sports? And then within sports, do you want that money to go to building a new stadium or a new this or a new that, or do you want it to go to have players come to play for your university through these NIL collectives? And the other thing, too, is going back to the first question that Brian asked about Jalen Young and Jaden Bradley. Remember this. You're limited on what your resources are, whatever those resources may be. And it's more in some schools and less in others. You are looking to add a couple of players. You have to judge how much I can give to this player, or at least offer this player, because I want to also give this player, a different position player. So if I give too much to this guy, I won't have enough for that guy. So you need like an accountant to figure out where you can go.
And they all know, and they always did in the handshake day.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. You need so many more people on your staff now. And Penny has a large staff, but I think most of them are there for basketball. But you need an accountant. You need the portal dude. You need all these guys now to be a part of
the compliance office. I mean, I always said their job was catching flaming hand grenades anyway, and now it's even worse.
Right. You got the what is it? The holdback guy on the sidelines for football. You need guys that are. It's not just coaching or mentoring young student athletes anymore. Now they have other responsibilities.
Yeah.
My favorite guy that we see around now, and there's a lot of them. Nobody can tell you what they do, but they're there and they're making a big salary.
Oh, there's probably a lot of people that you look and go, "What's their job?" Wait, they're not an assistant coach, or they're not a grad assistant. What do they do? Well, they're into this, or they do that. And they're part of recruiting, and they're part of this. And you need these people. And where does that money come from, too? Remember, that money has to be found to be able to pay coaches enough salary that they want to come and coach at Memphis or wherever, and they want to stay. So that's a big part of it, too. It is crazy what's going on right now with collegiate sports.
Sure is. Well, Greg, when you look at this team, and you pointed out earlier that the two things they needed to address in the past couple of weeks is point guard and center, and they've seemed to address at least a little to the point guard with the commitment of Jalen Young. But at center, we still don't know about Malcolm Dandridge. The last time the media talked to Coach Hardaway, he really said he didn't know that Malcolm was trying to get back healthy, and he hasn't really, we've seen him kind of show interest in some big men, but you haven't really seen a true center on campus for a visit, and there hadn't really been talk about a commitment for any big-time center. What do you think happens with that position? Do you think Malcolm will be here next year? I mean, I feel like as we get further into this process, probably the default answer is he'll be here next year, but it seems to me everybody, including myself, thinks he won't be here next year.
Look, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I love talking to Mark with Malcolm, rather. I love dealing with him as far as when he's in the games and covering the games or broadcasting the games. He's a delightful young man. He really is. But he is not dependable because of his physical limitations. Yeah. He has never been healthy for a full season. When he's played, he'll play at times incredibly well, and at other times he'll just be out there, and it seems like he's going through the motion. You can't depend on him. Yeah. So even though he's so close to Penny, you hope that it doesn't come, we're going to keep this guy by default. Mm-hmm. Man, that's the last thing you want is, we're keeping this guy because of default. Again, good young man at times has been very good for this university, for this program. But they have to get a big. And they are in the midst of trying to. And it seems like every big name that comes up in the portal, Memphis is one of those schools, you'll see the list, who's contacted this kid. Memphis is on the list. Here's the one thing about Penny that we know. Don't look at May 4th, and say, oh, they're dead. They can't fill this roster. Because he finds a way.
That's
June or July or August. He always finds a way to fill the roster. Now, those players may not always work out. Jalen Duran did. Amani Bates did not.
Mm-hmm.
Go up and down the rosters over the last 5 years or 6 years, whatever he's been here. But you can't count him out with anything. He has to get a big or two. There's no question about it. If they went into the season with this roster, they would get destroyed on the boards. They would get destroyed by any bigs. If you look at the Final Four teams, they all had bigs. They had guys that were more skilled than others, but they had bigs.
And UConn was big, and that's why
absolutely.
They bulldoze people.
And Memphis doesn't. They look at the roster that they have now. They don't have those players. There are a lot of questions. There are more question marks, I think, going into 23-24 than there has been in any of his seasons. But again, I still have faith that he will get it done, and he will find these players that he needs. Rick Stansbury, new assistant coach, was on with us on Sports 56 Mornings the other day. I mean, he came to Memphis. He knows the history. He loves the program. He calls it one of the top 20 programs in the country. He feels confident that they're going to be able to fulfill the needs that they have. You know, it's ironic that Rick comes, a day after the announcement of Sharp going from Western Kentucky, where he played for
Very
Rick,
ironic.
to Ole Miss, isn't it? That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Now, people say, well, he's going to talk him out of it. I don't know the kid. I don't know what he wants to do. But I know that Ole Miss is looking to, as you know, Brett, looking to uplift that basketball program. It was stagger there for a while. It was just there, you know. And I love Kermit. Kermit's a good X's and O's guy, but it was stagnant. That's the word I'm looking for, not staggering, but stagnant. And now with Chris Beard in there, you know, whether you like it or not, that guy can coach, and he's going to get players. So I don't know if Memphis can turn around and try to talk this kid out of it. I don't know if they even care to, but they're going to find somebody sooner than later, but they're going to find somebody. I have the faith in Penny that he is not going to go into the season with this roster with all the question marks, and even the question mark with Mikey Williams, right? That's the biggest question mark out of all the players.
Yep. We've got to get out a little early today because of Ole Miss baseball, but I heard Rick Stansbury on with y'all, and I don't know him that well at all, but I think he was speaking the truth. Most people, especially people in this area, in Tennessee, Arkansas, Mississippi, the South, they look at the Tiger basketball program properly like one of those type of programs. But listen to Rick Stansbury, and especially by the end of the year, don't you just want to go, Coach, here's a lozenge.
Oh, my gosh, I started the interview by saying it's a good thing we got you before a game, because if we talked to you after the game, we wouldn't be able to understand you. That guy loses, and he started laughing. He loses his voice worse than anybody, I think. I know.
I think a few years ago that there was a story that he really did irreparable damage.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I think he. I think that's right, because man, he does have that coach voice. Man, he gets it by Halloween.
Oh, gosh. And he said, good thing here is, you know, I'm an assistant coach. You know, Penny will do all that. I said, Coach, Penny doesn't scream too much. He doesn't talk loud that much.
That's
so
right.
He still have to do that, so I would imagine he will.
I heard you guys with that, and I like that a lot. Greg, thank you so much for your time, as always. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Greg.
Talk to you next week, guys.
You got it. Greg Gaston with us every single Thursday, brought to you by the law offices of Stephen Leffler, Mount Moriah Auto Sales, Neil's Bar and Grill, and Chet Wissett, your Cry-Like Realtor. It's time for Crunch Time.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest Crunch Time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, Haskins.
It's obviously Crunch Time.
Hammer, nail, coffin, this baby is over.
The Double Steak Grilled Cheese Burrito, so good. Double the steak with nacho cheese sauce, seasoned rice, red strips, sour cream, and the 3-cheese blend wrapped inside a warm flour tortilla, with even more 3-cheese blend grilled on the top. The Double Steak Grilled Cheese Burrito, it hits the spot now at Taco Bell. And at Taco Bell, when they say they are feeding people's lives with unexpected good, they mean it. Bowl food you can't get anywhere else.
Well, what I learned today, this was actually going to be what I could have done without today, but I had to switch some things around this morning. I saw this tweet that said and I even saw it because I've been watching. I've had the Mariners game on. They're playing the Oakland Athletics today, and by default, MLB.TV goes to the home team's broadcast. And so I had it on the Oakland broadcast before I switched over to the Seattle broadcast. But the Oakland, and they were talking about this at one point. The Oakland A's are selling a summer pass this year that will allow general admission to Oak Landing for 37 games. For a grand total of $99. For less than $100, Brett, you can go see 37 Major League Baseball games. Oh, and you get a free T-shirt with it. So really, if you put the cost of a T-shirt in there, it's probably a little less because I did the math. $99, 37 games. That's only about $2.50 for a game. And listen to some of these opponents. The Braves, the Rays, the Phillies, the Yankees, White Sox, Twins, Red Sox, Astros, Giants, Rangers, Orioles, and Royals. Those are some...
Sign me and you up.
Oh, absolutely. Those are some really good teams.
And if I could, I sure would. And supply and demand Milton Friedman, he strikes again. What I learned today, I knew the Bruce Bochy effect would help the Texas Rangers. That's why I had them in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I had them in there as a wild card. Right now they lead the West. There's a long way to go. But the Rangers, they're in first place right now. Houston will be there at the end. They have too much. Great team, great chemistry, great manager. And the Angels in Seattle will be tough down the stretch of the year too. But some people know what they're doing, like Bruce Bochy managing, and some don't, like Oliver Marmol.
You might be on to something, Brett. What I could have done without is we're continuing to get more information about this Alabama baseball gambling situation. And Ben Upton, who covers college baseball for 11.7, it's a podcast network, I believe, he tweeted out about the story talking about how the head coach was in contact with the man who was placing the big bets. He said that he talked to his source, and some of the quotes that came out of this from this source are very interesting, especially the last one. Here's the first one. Phone records were searched, which led to an instant firing of the head coach. The second quote, a lot of money was bet on this game. And then the third and final one that is really, really interesting, not the only time this has happened.
I wonder if they told him to cut it out. And he didn't on those other times. We'll find out more. And we're going to have the big overreaction, as we always do with any scandal around college sports. Here it comes. I could have done without this. Ryan Tannehill meet Will Levis. Almost the exact same player, except Will Levis didn't play some wide receiver in college football like Ryan Tannehill did. Levis could be okay, but in the AFC with Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, Patrick Mahomes, and Justin Herbert, how will the Titans ever break through against that group? But right now, in the state of Tennessee, of our three major league teams, the Grizzlies are well ahead of Titans and Predators.
You're absolutely right. They definitely are. What I'm keeping an eye on tonight, Brett, I hope you didn't plan on watching any baseball tonight, because the final game of the day has already
started at 5:30.
We're in the bottom of the first inning, and a run's already been scored. I mean,
so where do you want to be beamed to tonight? Does the beam machine work backwards where I can go back earlier in the day? Can we do anything with the beaming machine?
Well, Jay Morgan beamed 40 years in the past.
Just all over the place.
So I guess you can beam 40 years in the past. You can beam 4 hours ago. So
beam me to Quail Hollow. They had a great day there at the Wells Fargo at that great course in Charlotte. The weather looked fantastic, and that leaderboard is dynamite. I think that would have been mine. And you're right. Tonight, there's not a lot going on, but we got one big NBA game.
That's right.
We've got a big game, too, in the NHL, Toronto, where the Leafs are a big favorite over the Panthers. Also, game 2 in Big D. Stars a big favorite over the Kraken. Lakers need to be a lot more pedal to the metal in this game, too, than they were in the last series in game 2, when they kind of mailed it in at FedEx Forum in game 2 of that series against the Grizzlies. But we'll keep an eye on it all for you tonight. We want to thank Keith Smith for joining us. Also thank Greg Gasson for joining us. We look forward to having Jay Morgan back with us tomorrow. In his absence, we thank him. Brian, I thank you, and I'm Brett Norsworthy. We say good night. Ole Miss baseball against Mizzou is coming up next.